Consequence Podcast Network.
My friendship to all of you precludes my involvement with any one of you. But if you wanna make love, then I do too, and I'll be right there behind you. All in the name of oh, all in the name of oh, all in the name of
Greetings, constant listeners, and welcome to The Losers Club, a Stephen King podcast presented by Consequence of Sound. My name is Mel Castle. I'm a friend to Consequence, co-host on the podcast. I work at an animal clinic. Today we are talking about Christine from 1983, so I hope your foot is hovering over that gas pedal, whatever car you might drive. I don't drive, haven't driven in years, have a license, just don't like doing it. Let's see who's here today. Who is sitting in the back seat of this Plymouth Fury? We actually have a special guest today. It's her first time on the podcast, and we're really excited to have her. To my left is...
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Foster. I've just been reading Stephen King for a really long time. I started reading, I think Pet Sematary was the first book that I got when I was like 12. And then I started collecting them after that and going to garage sales and stuff and picking them up for like 99 cents.
Nice. Well, Jocelyn, I'm...
and hanging on to the fin of the car across from me.
I'm just like hanging there, just like, no, slow down, Dennis. Dennis, he's not even driving the car. It's Arnie. Anyway, this is Mike Rothman. I'm editor-in-chief of Consequence of Sound. And I'm very excited to have Jocelyn here today because the whole year, Jocelyn has been jonesing to get on this podcast. And the first book that she mentioned to me actually was Christine when we initially talked, like way, way back, like February of 2017. So it's been a long road.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. So.
Well, the Plymouth Fury finally came by, picked you up, and we went down to where else did we go to pick someone else up?
Well, we drove all the way down to Austin,
Oh my
Texas.
God, it was a long ride.
It was really long. No one slept.
No, nobody did.
We took shifts, listened to a lot of audiobooks.
Let's listen to audiobooks in Christine. Listen to the audiobook of Christine in Christine.
Yeah, because it's the only thing she would play.
Yeah.
We would start listening to like NPR, and she'd be like, no.
Yeah, I'm not having
And
it.
we picked up our good old friend Dan Caffrey.
Hey guys, yeah, I was right on the side of the road standing next to a cactus. There was a bat there. I had a 10-gallon hat on, and I said, hey, partners, pick me up, pick this Texan up. Yeah, I'm Dan, senior writer for Consequence of Sound. You guys know I'm a longtime Kingaholic, as it were, and I'm in the trunk of the car because there wasn't much room by the time you guys got me.
So we'll talk about our how we were first introduced to Christine. For me, it was my first read preparing for this episode. I feel like I say this a lot with the books by Stephen that I haven't read, but it just never sort of appealed to me. I thought the concept was kind of lame, like Killer Car. I don't know, that doesn't grab me as much as other plot devices do of his. But I was excited to read it. I had to call, the first time I've ever done this, I called around to used bookstores in the Chicagoland area asking who had it because it was really hard to find. And I finally found a paperback edition. I have the first paperback edition that was released, and it's got Christine written on it in the style of like, I don't know, what would you call that? Like
It's like a chrome.
It's like chrome logo. It's got a screaming skull going above it. It looks like it's half filled with blood. It's a pretty cool cover. I actually really like it.
Yeah, it does look like it's half filled with blood. That's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Well, she's red and white, so it's got her colors. It's like a red and white. Yeah. So I didn't know what it was going to be like, and we'll talk about my impressions later. But Jocelyn, how did you get introduced to the book, Christine?
I don't remember exactly when I bought the book. I know that I for sure bought it at Goodwill for like very cheap. And I remember picking it up and like thinking like, oh, I'm going to read that. And kind of this podcast pushed me to read it. But it's really good. I really like it a lot. I'm really happy that I finally got the chance to pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly, it's interesting because it's definitely one of the most iconic books of his. And I think before we were recording, I was struggling to remember if I had actually read it. It's like one of those weird things. It's like it's
You've
been
heard
so part.
about it in such detail. You're like, wait,
Yeah.
but did I consume it, or was it just via osmosis that I think I
Right.
know about it?
Yeah, like even while reading it, I remember sections, but I could not, for the life of me, remember if I had actually read it. It's almost like I was Arnie, and I was driving the car, and I couldn't remember. I just lapses of time happened. But
And you have a really pretty hardcover first edition.
yeah,
It's glossy. It's beautiful.
yeah, I love Jocelyn's cover. Is
got a little
it looks
tear.
brand new? And how much did you pay for this again?
I think like 99 cents.
Oh my
I'm
God,
pretty sure.
99
I
cents.
think like one of the rips in it is from tearing off the 99-cent tag.
Well, that's look. We're a huge fan of first editions here, especially me, who's had an addiction to them this past year, and I believe Caffrey is part of that addiction also.
I am. Yep. I am also looking at a first edition that I ordered on the website Half Price Books, which has a bunch of stores here in Austin and California and elsewhere. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, they're the source for King first editions. They're usually not more than $8. I bought it.
Can we order them? Like, can we order them
Yeah, yeah.
online? Okay.
Yeah, you can order them. Yeah, go to halfpricebooks.com. I had to order Christine online because I couldn't find it. Although I went yesterday and they had one.
Wait, why is it so hard to find? Like, why couldn't I find? Like, all the people were like, I don't know, it's just kind of old and it's a classic, but it's not in stock anywhere.
I feel like 80s King, like Christine, Pet Cemetery. I actually haven't found a first edition yet. I keep looking for one.
But I feel like
I
that
think,
one is super popular. That's why.
Yeah.
But Christine is not as popular.
I don't know if it's just the era or whatever it is, because I feel like, I don't know, it's weird. There's certain books that are easy-ish to find, like the Tommyknockers you can find pretty easily, like everywhere, you know. The Dark Half you can find, but like Mike said, I think Christine, although I don't know if writing-wise it's the most iconic book, but as a figure, like the idea of a killer car and because of the movie, I think it is one of his more iconic books, you know. So maybe that's why. Like I think it's like in people's memories anyway, has aged very well. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's because it's part of like the idea that, you know, King only writes about objects of evil or something, you know, like a killer dog or a
it's
killer
the Family
car.
Guy joke.
It is the Family
Yeah.
Guy joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
Ah!
I mean, this definitely plays into that for sure. You know, because even just as a metaphor for, you know, whether it's addiction or the wrestlings with nostalgia or friendships, it still feels kind of, and we'll get into it, but it still feels a little clunky. And I do think that there is some arguments. I think it does fuel the arguments of those that say that, you know, that say that King is only just a
fuel, you
one
say.
note. Yeah, fuel. Just
Sorry,
like
Dan, we sort of cut you off. So you got your copy from Half Price Books,
Yeah.
but had you read it before?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I had read it. It was one of the books that I remember seeing the cover a lot when I was a kid, but never picked up. My dad read it when I was playing Little League games. Dan Flieger, who's been on the podcast before, my best friend from growing up, his grandmother, I remember at her like elderly person community, they had this free book room and they had a ton of King first editions, which looking back, I wish I had stolen, but I remember seeing it there. But I didn't actually read it till college. I used to volunteer on film school films because one of Mike and mine's friends was in the film school and worked on a lot of them. And I was actually working on a horror movie and they were filming a nude scene. And so it was a closed set. So they didn't really have anything for me to do because, you know, I couldn't be on set. So they had me just guard the truck, like the truck with all the equipment in it. And it was freezing cold
Look,
outside.
Dan, that's an important job.
Yeah, that's what he told me anyway. And so I was like sitting in this freezing cold like box truck, and I had a copy of Christine from the library, and I think I read it mostly in one sitting because it was like a 6-hour shoot, and I, you know, it's pre smartphone days, so I really had nothing to do except read Christine. So I read it on the set of a horror movie, which was fun. But I feel like it's weird. I feel like it was a breezier read back then than it was for me now, which we'll get to in a little bit. Like I remember it being this really easy read, and I struggled with it a bit this time around.
I struggled with it big time. In hindsight now, and this is a very short hindsight considering I just finished the book literally 3 hours ago, maybe 2 hours ago at this point. But it should have been a really breezy read because I'm reading it like literally when it's taking place. You know, I read it over the holidays. I was reading it. I read like 400 pages in the last 48 hours. For me, I couldn't get into this book. And I want to, you know, obviously I'll extrapolate on it as we talk over the next few hours, but it's the first one I feel, with the exception of Roadwork, because I actually did just give up on Roadwork, but
Did not finish it.
but yeah, no, out of like the King books, like maybe this and Firestarter have been like the ones that are the hardest for me to get through.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
and it's weird because they're the most iconic. People remember Firestarter like that's like one of the first books that people talk about with King sometimes, and the same thing with Christine. And it's just interesting that these icons were actually more disappointing than I thought they were going to be.
It is interesting because you were just saying, like, you couldn't even remember if you had read it, but
Yeah.
it was so iconic because of the idea of just, like, murderous car.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a very common way that people think about King. Like,
Yeah.
if they haven't read the book, they know that this one has an idea that's very cemented and very, like, visceral, and that's enough for them to be like, yes, it's a classic.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like the Mandela effect for me. It's just like they're echoes in a weird way, but it's like I'm convinced that it happened or something. I don't know. I don't want to go down
so
that
you
road,
guys-
but
when you guys say that, it's funny because we're talking about like, the Killer Car book, the Killer this book, the Killer that book. Would you say this and Cujo are kind of the first time of the books we've read so far where that happens? Like everything else, I feel like is a little bit like the Dead Zone. You can't really. It's like the telepath book, I guess, or something, or the
Killer Hotel book.
The Killer-
I guess that's true. Because I don't know. I guess because like cars and dogs are something that everyone sees every single day. Maybe they're the first books to like kind of feel like that in my mind that Stephen King has written. Like the
Has
Killer
the
Plague.
Mangler come out yet?
And Night Shift. Yeah, I guess that's true. The Kill. Yeah, and some of his short stories he's had that, but like the girl who starts fires, it's like that's kind of a more obtuse concept. But this, it's like,
Yes.
killer cars. Like,
Exactly.
it came at a time when he was doing that. You know, like we just finished Cujo. We're going to be going into Pet Sematary soon. After that is the Killer Clown.
Yeah,
almost.
that's true.
You know, and it's not like Different Seasons was an exception either, because he wrote all those stories a lot earlier. And you know, I think we do have to kind of talk about, probably this goes into the book's history more, I guess, at this point. But he was at a certain time in his life where
place.
I think the themes of this book definitely play into that of
But I
addiction.
think it is a great example of like, people say it's about a killer clown, but if you actually read the book, it's
Yeah.
about like the concept of fear. Like
Yeah.
it's totally different. They just
totally.
they just know from popular culture, killer clown, killer car, killer dog.
Yeah.
Which is what
And
why, yeah.
Pennywise is not even a clown. As
Right,
we know.
exactly. He's not a clown.
She is a cosmic entity. So we'll get to that.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Sorry.
So the history of Christine, now that we've touched on it, let's delve into that a little bit. Not a ton out there. I feel like we were all kind of scrabbling to find something that was a narrative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just seemed like most of it had to do with like the book coming out with the movie in the same year.
Yeah, the movie was December 9th, 1983. And the novel was April 8th. April 29th, 1983. So, like, not even May, June, July, August, September, October. Yeah, it wasn't even 8 months apart. It's just crazy.
And I know that the production, just having talked to John Carpenter, I believe it was like kind of almost like a rush production in a way.
I guess it would had to have been, right? Because the book came out in April and the movie, like, gets released in December. I mean, they had to have already been working on it, I feel like, when the book came out already, you know?
Well, it feels like a Lost World situation by Michael Crichton, and that's my second Lost World reference this year in 2018.
Not by Arthur Conan Doyle.
Not by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Sorry, Sir Arthur.
Yeah, we can't forget the Sir. But I think that with that book for Crichton, he basically wrote it knowing that Spielberg is going to make a sequel to Jurassic Park. And you could tell because not only does he like resurrect characters that are dead in the first book, but the whole book is pretty much like an action movie, whereas obviously Jurassic Park wasn't. And I feel like with this, and maybe that's not the case for Christine, but I think the proximity of the movie and the book makes it seem that King was such a hot commodity at the time that they're like, all right, we got to get this and we got to pump the movie out immediately. You know, like I can imagine like our boy Dino coming out from the shadows and be like, Steven, what do you have for me? Do you have a new book, Steven? We have many producers and directors that are interested in your work. Like there's wafting smoke and the sun's peering in through the blinds, and it's a very nice afternoon. And King's like, I got nothing. I got this.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone, Dino. And I don't even think Dino had nothing to do with Christine, but Dino's got his fingers in everything in Hollywood, or he did. So maybe that was the origin for it. But according to a Guardian article, it said that Christine is a novel that King once said began in life as a short story.
Yes. So
Oh, really?
I have this quote from him
Yeah.
on StephenKing.com. I don't know the original source or if he just gave it to StephenKing.com, but it says, "One night as I was turning into my driveway, I saw the odometer numbers on my car turn from 9,999.9 to 10,000. I found myself wondering if there might not be a story in an odometer that ran backward. The car I thought would get younger instead of older, finally collapsing into its component parts. The next day I started writing it. I thought it would be a funny short story, a kind of American Graffiti. Instead, a fairly long novel came out, a supernatural tale about girlfriends, boyfriends, and Christine."
That's like a weird conceit for the story, is like the odometer. You know,
Yeah.
like that's where you got it from. Like,
But I love that's like how I write, is like one like tiny idea or scene. I'm like, that'd be so cool, and then you
Yeah.
have to like flesh it out somehow.
It just seems like such a small part of the like. I remember that in the book a lot. Like
Yeah.
it's very vivid to me, so it kind of makes sense that like that's where it built from, because it seemed like it really seemed like he did focus on that a lot. Like everyone made comments on it in the book, like as a character.
Yeah.
And I think even like his dad comments on Arnie's dad comments on it, and I think also Darnell comments on
Yeah.
it, and like everyone just kind of keeps refreshing that memory.
Well, and everyone is always saying like that there's no way that could happen.
Yeah.
Like the wiring of the car just isn't
Yeah.
able to do that. So like, how is that possible?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's in the car with his dad, and he was just like, in his head, he's like talking about the wiring. He's like, you know that like this isn't possible.
Yeah.
like this isn't just an accident. Like, why is this happening?
it makes you wonder if he just kept driving and like let the odometer go all the way to zero, if everything would have ended.
He would turn into a baby.
Oh, he would turn into it would be like the Benjamin Button with Christine. The Guardian likens this idea to the Mangler or Trucks. You know, they say it could have been a nice little short that did the entire plot in 40 pages, but it was sold as a big deal, maybe King's next big horror novel. And I feel like that's absolutely true. Around this time, you know, he's pumping out crazy iconic stories, but again, it plays into that idea that it is just the objects, these like
Domestic, like especially with the Mangler.
Yeah.
This is very much like how horror was brought home in
Yeah.
in the same sort of time period. Like you have Poltergeist.
yeah. You get
forget when The Exorcist comes out.
I mean, it
but-
was only like a few years like that Halloween came out and brought it to the neighborhood.
yeah,
you know?
exactly. Suburban horror.
Yeah, which interesting enough, John Carpenter, the director of Christine, did Halloween also.
Oh,
you know,
connection.
the Guardian suspects that he actually tried to do it over again with From a Buick 8, and that kind of lends credence to the idea that even King admits that he wasn't so happy with the story. Other
I feel
than
like
some
it's
of the
not
quotes.
one that he's constantly crowing about how much he loves it or like how much he hates it. I don't think I've ever heard him talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
That could be a me problem.
The only thing I can remember is in the first edition of Different Seasons, which I just read, I think the epilogue, he talks about how his agent at the time was like, "Oh, do we have to do all these stories that don't have anything to do with horror?" And Stephen King kind of assured him by saying, "Oh, don't worry, I've got this next novel that's about a killer car." And then he was like, "Oh,
The agent was like, thank God.
no, seriously." And then Stephen King says something like, "Oh, I love it. I think it's scary. I hope you'll think the same," or something like that. So I feel like maybe when he was writing it, and there are I don't know, there are moments of it that are truly frightening, I think. But I think the best parts of the book are the grisly elements of it. So maybe it's like you said, Mel. He had this small inkling of like, oh, cool, killer car. What are creative ways I can kill people? And then I don't know, maybe he struggled with some other stuff later on.
The book's dedicated to George Romero, and it's set
Yeah.
in Pittsburgh. There's a Monroeville Mall. They even go to the ice skating rink, which is one of the most iconic sequences from Dawn of the Dead, which came out in 1978, and this book takes place in 1978. It just seems like he had like the horror genre or genre filmmaking in mind while doing this. And I will say, historically, if we want to go into like where he got the concept of why the Plymouth Fury was why he chose, there is an interview I have here. He goes, the interviewer asks, "Why did you pick a 1958 Fury as your subject?" And he goes, "Because they're almost totally forgotten cars. They were the most mundane 50s car that I could remember. I didn't want a car that already had a legend attached to it, like the 50s Thunderbird, the Ford Galaxies, etc. You know how these things grow. Some of the Chevrolets, for example, were supposed to have been legendary door suckers. On the other hand, nobody ever talked about the Plymouth products. And I thought, well, Besides, Lee Iacocca gave me $1 million. I guess I don't know what that really means, but seriously, I don't know how Chrysler feels about Christine any more than I know how the Ford company feels about Cujo, in which a woman is stranded in a Pinto. But they should feel happy because it's a pretty lively car and it lasts a long time. It's like a Timex. It takes a licking and goes on ticking. Man, he really is David Lynch. Like, when you really think about his lines, he really is David Lynch.
I wonder if the name of the car, he doesn't even mention, it's called the Plymouth Fury. Like,
Yeah.
That's like perfect.
Yeah.
But he chose it because it's a boring, nobody cares about it car.
Yeah, that's a little odd. You know,
And also too, because what's the line? His unending fury.
We'll
like
talk
keep
about
saying
that.
it.
oh my god, yeah. Yeah, and obviously he wanted to do some ode to like rock and roll, which is why in the back of the book, there's a photo of it says Stephen King and friend. He says that the car was loaned to a Pennsylvania outlet that handles like vintage cars, and apparently they ran the car over the New Jersey line, just like in a Springsteen song, and he wanted to do the photo because it was like a rock and roll album cover, and I guess he was trying to pay homage to that. I mean, the whole thing is littered with rock and roll, so
It's we're going to talk about nostalgia, obviously,
Yeah.
but the whole idea of getting your first car and what a car means to a teenager, the freedom it affords, and the vibe of like listening to rock and roll on the radio in your car while you're cruising.
yeah. It's that freewheeling spirit.
Yeah,
It's so
exactly.
America.
So we're looking
What
at
do
the
you-
books. Should we read our synopses? Because I think they're all different. I was just peeking at Jocelyn's flap cover, and I think it's different. Mine's pretty short, and this is on the first paperback edition. It says, Christine is no lady, but 17-year-old Arnie Cunningham loves her enough to do anything to possess her. Arnie's best friend Dennis distrusts her at first sight. Arnie's teen queen girlfriend Lee fears her the moment she senses her power. Arnie's parents, teachers, and enemies soon learn what happens when you cross her. Christine is no lady. She is Stephen King's ultimate blackly evil vehicle of horror. Christine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
It's not inaccurate, and
I always wonder though with those. I feel like they really double down on the adjectives in those. Like, do they
Yeah.
need to say blackly like evil? Like, can't they just say like his evil vehicle or
Yeah.
whatever it is? Like, it always feels strange to me. Like blackly evil. Like all evil is going to be blackly. Yeah.
Well, hey, this is a society of hyperbole. I have the modern update. I was a sinner. I read the Simon and Schuster copy from the Pocketbooks edition that only came out recently. That has these awful, this cover is not too bad, and I don't think there's too much hyperbole and too many adverbs, but. It's love at first sight for high school student Arnie Cunningham when he and his best friend Dennis Gilder spot the dilapidated 1958 red and white Plymouth Fury for sale, dubbed Christine by its original cantankerous owner, rusting away on a front lawn of their suburban Pennsylvania neighborhood. Dennis knows that Arnie's never had much luck in the popularity department or really taken an interest in owning a car. But Christine quickly changes all that. Arnie suddenly has the newfound confidence to stick up for himself, going as far as dating the most beautiful girl at Libertyville High, transfer student Leigh Cabot. Even as mysteriously restored, Christine systematically and terrifyingly, okay, that's a little bit much, consumes every aspect of Arnie's life. Dennis and Lee soon realize that they must uncover the awful truth behind a car with a horrifying and murderous history. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And heaven help anyone who gets in Christine's way. The New York Times Book Review calls it Vintage King. Breathtaking. Awesome. And Publishers Weekly says truly gripping. Some of the best writing King has ever done. Oh, my God. San Francisco Chronicle. Terrifying. King is a terrific storyteller.
We got the classic Playboy pun on mine.
Oh, really?
Riveting, shiveringly scary, a hell of a good ride.
Oh, it is a hell of a good ride.
In mine, I have all these quotes from the New York Times, Washington Post, and everything, but it's for the book Different Seasons. It's not for Christine. So
Yeah, the hardcover one, I think that also speaks to it, the fact that they probably didn't even like send this out. They were rushing it so fast.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, what was the recent book
we'll
that he
throw some
did?
quotes in. We have these.
Yeah, I mean that happens occasionally with books and stuff, but like, yeah, it's weird that there isn't any quotes for Christine on here. They're probably like, just get it out of there, just roll it out of the garage.
Dan, do you have a different synopsis, or is it pretty much the same?
No, I've got that old first edition one where we get blackly evil, dark
sure.
suburban streets. Christine is alive, all that and everything. Yeah, and also the praise for different seasons on the back too. Oh, I do like this line at the end. It will keep readers up late and will have them looking both ways as they cross the street after dark.
No joke. I feel like it did do that to me.
Yeah, it did for me.
Yeah, it did me.
Like I'm more careful on the street now.
Yeah.
I paid way more attention to cars in general after reading this. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, like that's an old one. There we are.
This was really just propaganda to like increase street safety for children.
I'm always afraid that my death will be getting hit by a car just because I'm kind of clumsy, and Austin doesn't have a lot of sidewalks, and I always listen to loud music when I walk, so like I'm like always afraid a car is gonna.
And now
mow
we
me
are
over.
too. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Anyway, that's. I don't think any of us want to get hit by a car. I think that would be the worst death. One of the worst
pretty
deaths.
quick, actually.
You think so?
Well,
Yeah.
especially if you like don't die though. Like if you like
That's
get
bad.
paralyzed.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like even just getting hit by a car in general would suck.
Yeah.
Well, and every time you almost, like, I'm sure we've all experienced, you almost got hit by a
Oh,
car.
totally.
Yeah.
And it's very much realizing your own mortality moment. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, in another universe, I just died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Like, have you ever almost like walked in the street when the bus like like the Final
not a
Destination
bus,
sort of
no.
thing?
Yeah.
That's happened to me like multiple times in Chicago, and I'm like, oh wow. And
Yeah.
it's like to the point where it's so close, like even the mirror on the side is like almost hit my head, like knocked my head off or something.
Yeah,
Not
but-
fun. I mean, if not to spoil or anything, but it, like you get some deaths in this book that are they're still
Oof,
alive
yeah.
when they're being pancaked and
Oh,
all.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's freaky. So, is it just about a killer car, or should we delve more into the hook of this book?
I think so.
Hook of the book.
Hook of the book.
Yes. Don't you see? Don't you see how clear it all is? Not only can you see the future, I can change it. You can change it exactly.
For me, it's strictly about just cars.
It's about a car.
It's about a car. What were your thoughts on this book, Mo?
There are so many themes in this book. I think my running commentary on this book is that, very appropriately, it gave me whiplash, both in terms of its quality and the stuff it deals with. Like, I was so back and forth on it the whole time I was reading it, and part of that is I think that it's trying to deal with a ton of stuff. The one that I think I connected with most was the theme of growing up, losing faith in your icons, realizing that adults are fallible, and seeing the things and the people that you love become distorted, and like realizing that the people that you love are not perfect. There are things that you hate about them. Nothing works out like it does in the movies. You have to come to grips with the fact that reality is actually quite bleak. So that's one of them. And I think it ties into the nostalgia stuff you're talking about.
Yeah, like for me, the idea that you have a villain that is so intrinsically tied to this old school Americana, even when like Arnie's becoming like another second form of LeBay, he's starting to, exhibit those traits that are just very like tied to the past. Like he hates anything that's like current or future. Like he doesn't even really care about the future so much. He's like holding on to this like icon that is such an artifact of the past.
And it means he can't grow up.
And he can't grow up.
As
no.
Dennis is growing up.
Yeah, and because it's juxtaposed against Dennis's thoughts of like, wow, things are really changing. Like my dad's getting older. He's understanding and wrestling with the concepts that friendships do evolve and change and die. And even the way he gets sentimental about like early on in the book about how this is the senior year, everything's going to change after this. Nothing's going to be the same. And it's knowing that it hadn't happened yet, he had that sort of like pre-nostalgia in a way, is like almost being prompted by it.
Yeah, he's like really precocious for a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Although I guess he's writing when he's much older, right? Like we realize later he's penning these thoughts down.
Yeah, and he has a really cool ghostwriter in the middle section. But my thoughts with the nostalgia is that like it almost seems like, and especially with the adaptation, the film adaptation, it seems like the whole 50s nostalgia is actually like a poison in a way. Like everything that's tied to it seems to kind of poison those around them that are actually trying to move on and trying to get on ahead. And I think for me, it's like he's correlating just the downward spiral of addiction with the idea of trying to hold on to the past and hold on to somebody that you were, or somebody that you could be,
I think addiction, obsession, and I also wrote next to that stubbornness, which is part of what you're talking about, like just an inability to unlatch.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it is kind of interesting that the book that seems to have the simplest hook of all, the Killer Car book, it does kind of become a weird ghost story with the whole, LeBay possessing him and everything. And while I do appreciate the themes, like you guys said, of how poisonous nostalgia can be and how poison it can be to not want to move forward, it is weird because I feel like the whole thing of LeBay possessing Arnie sort of overshadowed the car at a certain point, you know? And
Totally.
that was interesting, yeah, because I kind of forgotten about that element of the book. Whereas in the movie, it's much more simple. It's just like, oh, the car is kind of evil, you know, right from the get-go.
Well, it's like, and everyone has their own sort of respective ties to the past. Like even like the conceit of this book in Dennis's head is emblematic of that nostalgia. Like, you know, and it's not, you know, spoiler alert, which you're listening to this podcast, so there are no spoiler alerts at this point anymore. But the ending of the book has like the murders happen again as he's starting to write and read this, you know, he's opening up these wounds again. You know, there's a lot of imagery of that too. Like I think at one point George LeBay talks about how like, oh, you're going to be opening up these scars and we're going to bleed again. And it's like, you know, you can't go back. It's like what Don Henley says in Boys of Summer. He's like, don't look back. You can never look back. And like, you know, great song.
He was talking about Christine.
He probably was
Yeah.
actually. And you know, what's funny is like, I feel like that song is all about that sort of sense of nostalgia. And like, I could see him like driving it from like, driving in Christine, you know, singing that song.
But hey, it's not Don Henley that gets quoted in one of the songs in this book. It's his bandmate, Glenn Fry, who is my favorite Eagle. So there you go.
He is my favorite Eagle also. But for me, just having that, it just seems like it's almost like a Russian tea doll of themes with nostalgia in this book. Like just from the concept to the iconography of the car, to the rock and roll, to the coming of age story, to the relationships with the parents and the parents themselves, and then back out. And it's just layered into it.
And it's interesting for King because I feel like he very much romanticizes the past in a lot of other works in a way that is positive. He really likes to portray the 50s and as like not a golden era, but it's very much like, oh, you could buy candy for a nickel and like things were simpler.
Yeah.
Well, he revisits that in like 11/22/63 even too. I mean, I feel like that's a big part of that book later on.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, and Christine actually makes an appearance in that too. So.
What were you going to say,
Oh,
Jocelyn?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Jocelyn, you were going to say something.
I was just gonna say, like, he always like calls back Christine, like in like a lot of his other stuff. Like even in his movies, you'll like see like Christine in the background, or like even the license plate. Like I've seen that before, and it's just kind of like, oh, like I think Christine, or like I feel like Stephen King, as much as like he had trouble like writing the book, I feel like he probably like really enjoys it now, you know, and really likes like having that nostalgia in it too.
Yeah, I think it's so iconic. And I think there's some sort of pride with that, you know, it could be, you know, you think of like the if everything were boiled down into little icons and like GIFs or sprites, to use a video game example, it would probably be like a little like rumbling like Christine as one of them. It's funny because there's so many monster movies that come out of the 50s, and there's so many like weird horror movies that have to do with like, oh, you know, teens and cars or whatever. But it really always goes back to me for Christine. Like I always think of like, oh yeah, the killer car that is going to run you over.
Yeah.
And
You know, now that I think about it, I disagree with the point that I just made, which is that Stephen King romanticizes this time period, because I'm thinking about it and how the whole point is that everything seems idyllic, but is actually corrupted and gross.
Yeah.
So I think Christine is a little bit similar in that you need to look below the surface. Like, it's great that you have a car that can repair itself and like sort of go back in time, but it's also fucking evil. So,
but it's weird though, because like even when we do our tweets every other week, and King is still so like big on talking about old school rock and roll, and like he doesn't. It's not like he ever really moved on from it either. You know, I mean, granted, he still. I mean, he like goes to Rancid shows and stuff like that, but so he definitely moved on in some respect. But he does idolize the sort of simplicity of the past in certain respects. I mean, you can't.
When Chuck Berry died, remember it was just like quoting all these old songs. Like how many songs did Chuck Berry have about like taking a girl across the state line and you know his car breaking down? and
exactly.
The way he talks about it's always like, ooh, even the Motorhead tweet yesterday, it was like, gotta throw on some Motorhead.
Yeah.
But I feel like that improves the standing of this book a little bit for me from a like self-aware perspective. Like maybe this was him meditating on that, and like these songs are like a cutesy counterpoint to the very real deaths going on in the book, and like maybe he was really trying to, I don't know, think a little bit harder about his instincts to romanticize the past, or maybe I'm projecting, but it's interesting.
I think, you know, what he's really getting at with this book is we just got to get some public transportation in these cities in America, and we need to get away from the cars and make sure that we don't have too much smog everywhere. I don't know. No,
It's Christine or the Cyclist Manifesto is I think the subtitle.
Oh, that was the original title actually. Yeah.
I had to buy a car, or my wife and I had to buy a car for the first time, like ever really, when I moved to Austin. And I've always driven a little bit in Chicago, like getting Zip cars or whatever. But my car is a Ford Focus, so it'd be really funny if I had a Christine experience, but with a Ford Focus, it's like the most unintimidating car ever. I don't know what it would play or anything like that. Yeah.
I could just imagine you pulling up and like with the Focus, and then like George Thorogood's "Bad to the Bone" starts playing, and you got like Hank in like the driver's seat.
I feel like you would just be like, I lost track of time. Like, why am I at Cracker Barrel again? Like, it's just like taking you to these like really tame places.
Yeah, you're like going to like matinees. Yeah. You know, it's not even like drive-in theaters. It's like, oh, I gotta get to the 10 o'clock.
Was like fine, but it wasn't that good.
I guess, you know, in terms of like the addiction and the obsession, like that has to be tied to like King's like.
You think?
I feel like it has to be, right? He was getting over
stuff at this point. Like maybe he's thinking about it.
He could be reflecting on it. You know, I imagine. You know, I guess what was it? Cujo, he doesn't remember writing, right? That's
right. Cujo, he doesn't.
But he likes it.
I think Tommyknockers was the final book before he got clean, so I think he's still in the. He's still in it, yeah. He's still in the throes of it here, I think.
For me, Christine was also just like the origin story of all those like rejects you see roaming around your like small town. And you're like, man, how did they get there? Like, how did the guy get to that bar stool? Which is funny because that is such a huge motif of the body. Is that going, knowing the changes that are going to happen with friendships and knowing what's going to happen to the small towns and the kind of the loners and the rejects that get left behind. And that image of Ace Merrill when he's like on the bar stool and he's like heavy set and just kind of a dilapidated soul is so similar, I feel, to like even just the bullies in this, and then also where Arnie was probably going to end up. Yeah. I know I keep talking about it, but I feel like Arnie is what happens if the loser doesn't find his supportive club. Yeah. Like, it's very much just he tries to talk about the like. It's always an anger. It's like anger is the problem because Roland is angry since he's like 6 months old and he can't let go of his anger. He's constantly angry or furious, as the case may be. Yeah. And it's always in the face of powerlessness. Like this bitterness and this anger comes from being pushed around and feeling powerless. Yeah. And so there's like, I guess King is like, there's one of two ways you can go with that. And like Dennis could have been Arnie's salvation, but he was still ripe for corruption by Christine. Yeah. So I totally agree. I think it's very, and also even like Apt Pupil, I got echoes of like. Yeah, no, totally. Because even that's like a coming of age sort of thing as well. I don't. I mean, I think for me, I'm. The tank is empty for me in terms of the hook. I would just add jealousy, and also I think this book is about girls in a way that I don't like, and we'll talk about. Like the type, because there's types of sexism in Christine that I'm not super into, but I think it is about cars and girls and teenage modes of possession and relationships. So that's just like a sub theme for me. Well, hey, as Kurt Cobain said, teenage angst has paid off well. Now I'm bored and alone, I think. But yeah, I just botched that one. Thanks. Sorry, Kurt. Anyway. Anything else? On the theme, the hook.
Tank is empty. It's empty.
Tank is empty. Yeah. All right, let's fill her up. On E. And while we're filling her up, we can discuss the structure and format of this book.
Look at me. Look at me, teacher.
Let's talk about the structure and format, the bones of the book, as it were, or the how do you pronounce the word chassis?
I think it's
that's right.
I think that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
The chassis of the car that is the book.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna head to Darnell's garage. Yeah. Where I want to go see my Jimmy Sykes. Love Jimmy Sykes. But
really? I didn't even put him up on the character list.
No. I don't love Jimmy Sykes. He's a moron. I'm right there with Will. But we're not talking about the characters. We're talking
about the structure and format, which is weird.
Very
right?
weird.
It's very weird, yeah. Well, it's weird because I do enjoy the central conceit of love songs, death songs, and car songs, which at first I thought he wasn't following. I'm like, these are all just car songs. Then I did realize like they are all car songs, but the ones in the love section are romance songs or breakup songs about that also have cars, and then the death songs also are car songs that feature death. My big issue with this book was that you're from the first person point of view of Dennis in 2 of the sections, but then the middle section it says Arnie, but you're not really from Arnie's point of view at all in that book. It's just like omniscient all of a sudden. It felt very lazy to me.
Well, in an interview with King, and the same one that I've been quoting from before, the interviewer was like, "Hey, Steven, why the fuck was Christine written using 2 different narrative styles? You got Denny's first-person narrative for the opening and closing parts, and then you go into third-person narrative for the middle." And here's his response. "Because I got in a box. That's really the only reason. It almost killed the book. It sat on a shelf for a long time while I walked around in sort of a daze and said, you know, this is really cute. How did you do this? It was like when you paint a room and you really do end up in a corner saying, ah, heck, look what I did. There's no door at the end of this room. I had Dennis telling the story, and he was supposed to tell the whole story. But then he got in a football accident and was in a hospital while things were going on what he couldn't see. Then for a long time, I tried to narrate that second part in terms of what he was hearing, hearsay evidence, almost like depositions, but that didn't work. I tried to do it a number of different ways, and finally I said, let's cut through it. The only way to do this is to do it in third person. I tried to leave enough clues so that when the reader comes out of it, he'll feel it is almost like Dennis was pulling a Truman Capote. It's almost like a nonfiction novel. I think that it's still a first-person narration, and if you read that second part over, you'll see it. It's just masked, like reportage. Now, here's what I have to say to that. That's a bullshit excuse.
Yeah, Mike, your response.
Yeah,
There's no way that middle part is like anywhere near written from the point of view of Dennis at all, because
No.
it's like talking about Arnie in his head and stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, it gets into Arnie's head.
It's,
Like,
it's
Yeah.
omniscient.
I'm like,
It gets
there's
in
no way
multiple
you know
people's
any of that.
heads.
yeah,
And what kills me too is that, you know, we're told in the jacket of this book that this is a book about a killer car, that you know, there's no mystery about that. And I get that there's a point where the characters have to figure that out. But I feel like the problem is because when we, the reader, actually see Christine rebuilding herself, and we get confirmed early on in part 2 that Christine is supernatural, it makes no point for the characters to be figuring out. And had King actually posited or written the book from Dennis's or Arnie's point of view, I feel like that would have come off a little bit better, you know, like, oh, is it or isn't it, you know? But because we like actually see the car doing all that, it just, all the mystery gets sucked out of it.
This was a chief complaint of everyone, I think, was
Yeah.
the characters repeatedly being like, I think something's off about the car. I don't know what it is. Sometimes it smells weird. I just get a bad vibe. Do you get a bad vibe? No, that's crazy. But I do get a bad vibe.
it's telling that like John Carpenter's adaptation, like, is the first book is literally takes place in like, I think like the first 20 minutes of the movie. I mean, this book meanders like
Yeah.
big time.
It
I
really
mean,
does.
it's ridiculous. It feels like a mini, like Mac was saying, like if they adapted this, it should have been a mini series. I was like, well, yeah, it could have been if in the current form, or you just slim it down and not have
But that's
all
why I'm
these
saying
ridiculous.
give me Whiplash, because it meanders
Yeah.
and then it goes and then it meanders
Yeah.
and then it goes.
Yeah.
I think that was the hardest part for me, is like at some point it like pivots into like almost like a Thomas Wolfe book where he's like, you know, going to Albany and then like gets arrested, and then you're dealing with a lawyer, and then a lawyer's talking, and then it's like, oh, he should talk, you know, he should, and it's like, what book am I reading? Like this is like a teenage, you know, like a high school story. Like when did this become like, I don't know, like almost like a Dennis Lehane book at some points too. It's just ridiculous.
And they even have chapters. Like I always think the term detective work is really funny. Like I just think it's a funny term.
Dennis's
figure out.
detective.
Yeah, there's one that's actually called detective work, and I'm like, you could just scrap all that stuff. And I'm like, fine, if you just want to make the whole book third person, then you don't have to worry about like, oh, who does or doesn't know what. Just confirm off the bat that it's a killer car, and then have them deal with the fallout, make it 300 pages, bada bing, bada boom, you know? But I mean, there's so much in that second part of Dennis figuring out what they need to do. And I'm just like, dude, the car is evil. Like, trust your gut. Oh, it drives me crazy.
Well, it's also like they can't figure out this is one of the first books in a while. Maybe the first book, actually. I feel like this happens a lot in the short stories where you start out with like an interesting like premise, and then you overcomplicate it by continually like digging into the reasons for everything. And like the Mangler does this. What was the story with the stalker from Night Shift.
I know what you need.
Yeah, I know what you need.
Cujo did it with
like-
the hotel stay and kind of figuring out like why they couldn't reach each other.
Yes,
and
like-
I do feel that it's just King being scared that his readers will find the story not believable from a practical standpoint, and so he just goes so hard to prove that like this is how it would have happened. This is why
Yeah.
we ended up here, and it's just boring.
Which you don't need. Like
Yeah.
it's just like just trust your own writing and just know that we trust you. You have the agency to kind of just go with it. For me, him especially with like the whole LeBay mythology, it felt as if he was kind of, you could just tell it was like almost like the Damon Lindelof thing where he's just making it up as he's going. And that became really frustrating to me because at some point, like Lost, like literally anything could just start happening. And then he would just allude to the, oh yeah, no, that was what happened with LeBay and his past. And let's go back to George for a second so we can explain some more things that we didn't know before that kind of lend credence to the fact that Christine's doing this and that now. And
I guess it's a reveal.
yeah, it's kind of a reveal. And it just, for me, it's so infuriating. And also, like, I felt like his foreshadowing, like, really was clumsy here. You know, he usually does the thing where he's going to tell you the person dies, like, 100 pages before it happens. Or, like, oh, it was the last time, blah, blah. And that, for me, absolutely killed some of the tension and some of the pacing for this because I expected it all the time. Even, like, the stuff with, like, the hitchhiker. It's like, if it wasn't for the hitchhiker, then it would die. It's like, oh, thanks for letting me know. Like, why would you tell that? Like, you know, it's... I don't know. For me, that part was clumsy as well.
Well, especially like that hitchhiker part that you're talking about, because I thought that was like one of the best parts in the book for me, at least.
Yeah,
like, the
right?
most, like scary parts, and then they like already told you like before they're like, oh, but then this happened, like this is gonna happen. And it's just kind of like, well, just let me read it, like just let me get to it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, just, like, let it happen.
He's clearly trying to, just keep you on the line or whatever.
Yeah.
But
but
we're already reading your
it just
book,
seems
dude.
like he's treating his audience like almost kind of like as dummies, where they're like they need to be fed this, like,
Yeah.
And it's like
Well,
we
and-
don't,
and
like, just let us
we're
figure
exceptionally
this out.
smart, so
Well, and the thing is too is once you see what's the first death is Mooch, right? Moochie, whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
Mooch.
That's the first confirmed death with Christine. Like we actually see Christine doing that. We know there's no one in the car. We see it all in its grisly details, and I love that scene. I love all the vehicular death scenes. My thing is once that happens, which I think is early on in part 2 or maybe the end of part 1, but once that happens, we don't need any more detective work at all. Like we know it's a killer car, like it can, and those scenes just to me trump everything else. Like I love seeing this car run down people. Like that's like all I want at that book, yeah.
Well, before Dan actually bought his what was it you said?
Ford Focus.
Ford
Ford
Focus.
Focus.
You're like,
Yeah,
I
the
can't wait
Focus.
to get behind the wheel again.
Well,
These people have no idea what's coming. I'm
Dan
like, whoa,
Caffrey,
who?
Dan Caffrey's actually the inspiration for Cronenberg's Crash.
Oh yeah.
So
he I mean,
he's that old.
he's that old. Yeah. Like Cronenberg saw an image of like baby Caffrey, and he was like, wow, all right.
That child wants to get in a wreck.
Well, he was like LeBay 6 months in. He just
Yeah.
knew that Caffrey was like just raging to like get behind the wheel.
I know you said, Mike, that you didn't really like the Dennis sections, and maybe it is just because of the whole like, is the car weird? But I like the Dennis sections because we get his character a little bit more, and we get all that cool stuff about him learning that his parents are fallible and that life is kind of shitty sometimes. And I would have liked Arnie's actual first-person perspective. I would have liked if we stayed first-person but switched characters. Even give us some of Lee.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna go
Yeah.
because they're titled Lee. I think Lee, Dennis, and Arnie are in some order. I thought I was gonna get Lee, like Dennis and Arnie,
I think that would have been good. I mean, I think if you had those shifting perspectives, it was great.
and let us see like Arnie losing it.
Yeah.
in a more intimate way.
I personally just would have. I really like the middle section just because at that point I was like, oh, King is actually comfortable. He doesn't have to worry about being limited by first person.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't traditionally write in the first person, all the time. I can't really remember. I don't think. I mean, obviously the Stand isn't. I don't think Salem's Lot is.
No, that's definitely not.
And like Carrie isn't. I guess kind of
Short
is.
story is more common. Like
Short story,
Shawshank is,
yeah.
and he did start this as a short story, and maybe
It's true, and it comes after different
box.
different seasons are all like I think first person for the most
I
part.
wanna
aren't
say-
they? Well, the two of them
App
are.
People isn't.
App People isn't,
A
but
lot of
I
the
want to
stuff
say Rage is the only novel, right? Up to this point, that's first person. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it's Rage is the only one that's written in the first person.
This is interesting. Is this really
Yeah.
his first person novel?
I mean, I
which
think
isn't entirely first person.
it's not entirely, and that's why I think he might be that. Maybe that's why he kind of put himself into the box because. The Man in the Box, actually, our second
Alice in
reference
Chains.
of Alice in Chains' song of this year, and I think that's maybe why I was put off when I first started reading it, and I felt a little more comfortable in the middle sections. I don't know, it's hit or miss for me, all of it.
If he was writing this thinking like it was going to be a short story to begin with, like that might be why he started out that way.
Oh, totally. I mean,
you can tell he's not as, like I said, Dennis is super precocious in a way that can take you out of the realism of his character. Like I think that is King, like
Yeah.
kind of wanting to go third person.
Yeah.
because Dennis makes all these philosophical observations that I'm like, okay, like, you're
Well,
just spouting.
it's almost like you know, in like The Shining, the superior version by Stanley Kubrick, when Jack Nicholson's like getting angry at Wendy for bothering him, and he's just like, "You're distracting me.
Every time you come
in here, you're distracting me." I feel like when he got to the second section, it was like Wendy left the room.
No, I have to
Like,
take time to get back to where it was.
And like, I feel like he finally was like, "All right, here we go," and he like cracked his knuckles, and like think about all the stuff that happens in the second section versus the first bookends. Like the stuff in the bookends are almost like two big long scenes. Like the first section is they get the car and suspicions arise. The third section when Dennis comes back is they're going to take down the car. Like that's the middle section is really where the meat of the story happens, and it's probably because he felt like a more liberal experience for him. You know,
When he says, and I hate when authors do this, even though I think it's more real. Like how Justin was just complaining about when actors are like, "Oh, I just got so into the role, and like it was me, this relationship." Like I hate when authors are like, "Well, the character got away from me. He made a decision, and I had to go along." And like
Yeah.
when King is like, "He got himself in a football accident," I'm like, "Okay, well, he's
Like, no, you got him in a
not
football
real."
Yeah.
And-
How did you guys like the aside from like the point of view, like the song breakup, like the love songs, death songs, car songs? Like, was that something that was cool to you?
well, I can't comment on that because I didn't
Poor
read
Mike.
the original first edition. I was a bad boy. But
Oh,
I-
'cause you don't have the songs in those, right?
no,
They-
for some
they-
reason they don't, which it must be a rights thing. I imagine.
Yeah.
I think it would have been so much more rewarding if I was familiar with the majority of these songs, which I think a lot of his audience would have been when this came out.
Oh yeah.
I only know a handful of them, and it's such a King thing. I don't know, like opening with all the quotes, and when you don't know them, they can sound stupid because song lyrics, by and large, sound stupid when they're written out.
That is true. What about you, Jocelyn? Because you had a first edition, right?
Yeah, I did, but I also like listened to the podcast, or not to the podcast. I listened to the audiobook. And
What did they do?
Oh,
What did they do
gotcha.
in the audiobook? Did they have songs? Or?
No, they did not. They didn't even mention that at all. I was following along like in the book as like I was reading it, and it didn't really go over that. But
We should mention here that one of our constant listeners has made a Spotify playlist of all the songs mentioned in Christine. I think his name is Andreas.
Yeah.
And it's
I think in
really
Stephen
cool.
King, hasn't he made one of like just Stephen King in general?
That's it.
Yeah.
Like just all
It's
of
the
them
same
so far.
guy?
Yeah, I think so. I think he. Well, there's we recently got shared a playlist with all of them from the book, which is great. I'm gonna listen to those for sure because I'm looking at them now and I'm like, man, Brian Wilson would just have a field day with this. You got Jan and Dean in here. You get his own Beach
Oh, yeah.
Boys. You get some Lennon McCartney. He probably would have had a great time reading it, as he would say. But
I do want to say, I can't remember if I told all you guys, but I was so there's that Glenn Frey song in there, Party Town, which is early on in the book, and I recently got Glenn Frey's solo album, No Fun Allowed, but allowed is spelled ALOUD,
Oh, wow,
like
clever,
again.
clever.
that is very clever.
And I was playing that on my laptop, and I went to use the bathroom, and I was reading Christine while I was on the toilet, and I'm not joking. Like as I came across the Glenn Frey song, it came on, and I was like, "Oh yeah!"
Dude, that sort of just happened here.
Yeah.
Because we started talking about Christine. What did you even say? Like you just finished the book or something?
Yeah, I had just literally finished the book, and then the Bad to the Bone started
came on.
playing because I had a playlist of like 50 songs from like I guess maybe the soundtrack or something like that. But that was like that one came on literally right after I was talking about being done, and I had to change it because I was like, this is just too weird. It's like I feel like that's like the one song that like you can't really listen to on your own. It has to be like in a movie or something. You know,
That-
that just means you're not cool enough. to
it's
listen
yeah,
to
it
on
is.
your
It's
own.
true. I'm not Bad to the Bone though. I'm a
I
bad
remember
boy.
like,
But
I was at the gym like months ago, and Bad to the Bone came on, and I'm like, I can't listen.
You had to
This
stop.
is
Did you stop working out?
dumbest.
you're like embarrassed, even though it was in your headphones.
It wasn't even my headphones. It was on the gym like radio. Or
I know,
whatever.
that is
I
weird.
would stop working out. Like
Yeah.
whatever I was doing, I would have to stop.
I would
Like
pull
any-
out my shades and put them on while I'm on the treadmill.
And that's the thing is like when that song it can't come on. I feel like that song can't come on without you thinking about like, oh yeah, here's my Terminator shades. Like here we go. You know.
I gotta say, like, you know, knowing that he wrote this obviously at a time where you can't just go and search lyrics in like Google or something. It is pretty like awesome that he was able to pull out these songs from memory, because like, I imagine he had to just remember, unless he went to like
You probably listened to him a ton of times.
yeah, like maybe he had like a vinyl nearby, or like knowing him, he probably was in a car listening to like 4-track or something like that.
Well,
Or
did they
8-track.
write?
I mean,
Did they write the lyrics? Sometimes they would write the lyrics in the.
they do
on the
sometimes.
cover.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe he pulled out the vinyls and
Maybe he's wrong about a bunch of them, and they're just misheard.
That's
and, like,
that's why they took them out, like
Yeah.
because they're all wrong. No, but like I mean, to answer your question, I looking at them now, like this is awesome, and I think it would have added a lot to the reading experience for me. They are all so perfect and intrinsic to this story. I mean, some of them are modern, which is kind of interesting because like they don't really fit the tone of
nostalgia.
the yeah. Some of them are weird, like having like the Steve Miller Band doesn't. I don't know if that really makes much sense to put in there.
Even the Glenn Fry one, I think that album had just come out. Like that wasn't the '70s album or anything. You know, it was like
No,
early.
maybe
80s.
maybe he just got back from like Suncoast or Sam Goody, and he's like, Tabby, I got this great album by Glenn.
No fun allowed.
No fun
but
allowed.
ALUD.
But there's some good ones in here. I mean, like there's some like on the nose ones, like the Jan and Dean ones. There's the Chuck Berry. I think it adds like a cool element to it, and for me it's very like high school writing, you know, where you're gonna like put the quotes in at the
Oh my
top.
god, we were just
you know?
talking about AIM
Yes.
last night. It's like that. It's like putting up your away message or your profile on Instant Messenger. And plus, I feel like it. Even though I don't know the majority of the songs, it does contribute to the nostalgic vibe because nobody writes songs like these anymore. They don't write rock and roll songs about their car.
Oh, yeah,
and
no.
taking their girl in their car and like how no one can outrun their V8 Ford and like.
Because like the cars today are like
I guess country songs might, but
they might actually
Yeah.
because the trucks and stuff, but
cause the trucks.
because
and
the
stuff.
trucks.
Because the trucks.
Hey, Trucks and Stuff is a great album.
Hey, I love trucks and stuff. You know, I think that this book needed some more Alan Jackson, especially his songs about 9/11. But I would have loved that in the in the chapter before he goes to Albany. But
Ladder to Heaven. Yeah.
yeah. In terms of like, for me, like I think the structure is in the format for this book is probably why it's such a hard read. Yeah, and a dud for me.
A clunker.
You know, a clunker. You know,
A jalopy.
I don't want a jalopy. Yeah. A total yellow. No, lemon. That's what it is. Yeah.
total
A
yellow.
yellow. No. I was thinking of Back to the Future and he calls him yellow, but no, a lemon. Yeah, and which I actually had. I had a lemon growing up. My first car, fun times. But for me, that's the problem. That's mainly the biggest crisis of the book is you can
it's just
tell.
strange.
It's very
it's
strange.
It's symmetrical, but it doesn't feel symmetrical.
No.
And I felt like he should have committed to first person all the way or third person all the way.
Yeah. I actually almost wish I could read some of those chapters of like him hearing the stuff in the hospital bed. I think that actually would have maybe made you could, granted, like all the really harrowing stuff of this book happen in the third person, but if you're hearing it through, if like you're Dennis in the
Yeah.
hospital and you're hearing it, that would be even kind of scarier.
I think I remember the first time, I think it is when she kills Mooch, and he describes in great detail how she repairs herself. He describes like the paint coming back on her, and I was kind of like, well, this is cool, but it also completely takes me out of the book because
Yeah.
Dennis wouldn't be able to see it, and it's also just kind of like it's clearly this King thought this was cool and wanted to
Yeah.
put it in, and maybe we don't need to see the car repair itself. Maybe it's actually creepier if we never see that sort of thing.
No, I agree. Absolutely. Like I think, and I think you would have slimmed down the book too. Like, and not to say that I can't read a 700-page book, but when the book is meandering in places that, for me, feel like you're just pulling my chain, and you have like a million different dream sequences, and like how many times are we gonna like be like, I can't believe it, LeBay's corpse is in the car, and I was like, yes, because you've done it like 10 times already. Like, so by the time you actually get to LeBay's corpse, it would be like if you were playing Super Mario and King
Can't wait for this
Koopa
analogy.
like kept coming, like you had to keep fighting King Koopa, at the end of every level, not even like the boss
You were
levels.
like, who is
just-
it going to be?
Yeah, like who's it gonna be? And then at the end, it's like, here I am. It's King Koopa. I was like, yes, I know. I've seen you literally every level. Like this isn't a surprise to me anymore.
What's weird too is that near the end, Dennis's effective threat against Arnie is like, people believe in the supernatural now. Like, we're gonna take you down because they'll believe our story. When
Yeah.
like you didn't believe your own story for
No.
3/4 of the book.
Even like the ludicrous fact that Dennis doesn't get pinned for Michael Cunningham's death is fucking ridiculous. Like, oh, what were you doing?
Who called
slamming
him just before?
Exactly. You called him. You literally. You were like literally the last person in contact with him. We're caught by the cops taking a huge septic tanker. And plowing it into a car that Michael
Junkins,
was
your
in.
only ally who knows a little bit more than the other cops, is dead.
Is dead. Yeah. So, and just like Deus Ex Machina, a detective comes out of nowhere being like, he was my friend and he told me everything before his death. Oh, really? A cop who was keeping everything to himself told you randomly, like, I might die on this highway curve. So I'm going to let my close friend that's actually even more sympathetic and even more open to the supernatural, like a Fox Mulder, he's going to totally understand my story, and he's gonna be an alibi
Not only
for
that, he's gonna make sure the car gets cubed.
Yeah, it
he's
gets
gonna
cubed.
demolish the car.
Oh my god,
It's not gonna go to evidence. It's not gonna get like
for a book that consistently tries to over-explain itself and tries to make amends with the fact that what is going on is absolutely insane. It definitely fumbles the ending of trying to be like, yeah, we're just going to go with the supernatural and people are going to kind of believe it. And everyone's going to think that these random things are just occasions that happen on,
It is pretty funny. Like, imagine if it happened in real life. Like, you
Oh, yeah.
stumbled across a person with a septic tanker shut in a garage with an empty car.
Yeah.
Except there's a corpse of
There's a
his
corpse
best
of-
friend's
yeah.
father.
yeah. Like,
And the night that the rest of like Buddy Repperton's gang gets killed, don't they keep saying like, oh well, no, that wasn't a coincidence because the weather was really bad or something?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, if there were multiple car deaths randomly on like a quiet winter night in a small town like that or a small suburb, like you wouldn't think that's weird? Like,
Yeah.
And also,
that's
wouldn't you
exciting.
put a watch on those kids?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the stupidest town ever, and it's the one town that actually is real in Stephen King's books, like Pittsburgh, the Libertyville area. These are all real locations. So it's like, man, maybe he just knew that the cops are fucking idiots or
That's what I was
something.
gonna say.
but
Maybe we're giving the cops too much credit.
it might be. I don't know.
Okay.
It's either way. I
Anything else to say about the structured format of Christine?
for me, I'm good. I'm tapped.
All right. Well,
I'm out of gas.
Radagast.
yeah, we were filling up. This is when we were filling up. You guys keep up with
Oh,
the
sorry.
metaphors,
Oh, okay,
the transitions
okay.
here.
Well,
so now that we've filled up, we were discussing things at the pump, and now that we are ready to go again, let's keep an eye out for some heroes and villains on the side of the road.
I'm gonna have to kill this fucking clown. Welcome to the Losers Club, asshole!
All right. Well, I think we usually start with the main protagonist, right? Like, we don't go small to big. So
Yeah, no, we go.
let's start with the Cunninghams.
I guess we have to start with Arnie. We have to start with Arnie. I mean,
All right,
right?
Throw her into reverse.
I don't know. You talk about Arnie. He pisses me off so much. I don't even want to talk about him right
He
now.
pisses you off. Okay, that's interesting. I definitely sympathize and liked Arnie. I feel like I had friends like Arnie in high school.
Yeah.
I probably might have even been an Arnie in high school at one point, but I don't think my skin was ever that bad. But I think King definitely, he's obsessed with like acne. Like Danse Macabre gets into his obsession with acne and like how it's so gross, and like King really
Yeah.
thinks it's like the grossest thing.
Yes.
But it is a very big ostracizing force when you're a high schooler. And I really liked how Arnie is portrayed as this sort of contradictory character. He's so into cars and he goes to shop, and there's that cool line where Dennis talks about watching him make a chess move, and it's like he's such a nerd, but his hand is covered in motor oil, and like, who is this guy? So I kind of liked Arnie. I think you're supposed to like Arnie at the beginning. He's really true to himself in that he wants to do the shop stuff, and he also is good at chess, and he's trying to make his parents happy, but he kind of knows where he fits in the grand scheme of things, and he's bitter about it. and that's the bitterness that Christine then exploits. But I think he's supposed to be very relatable as a high school loser. Never really figured out. I mean, I guess King doesn't really ever justify his friendship with Dennis. Like, how did they meet? Why is this football star best friends with this total loser? Like,
yeah, it kind of just seems like they just like met each other in high school or like sat next to each other in class or something. And then, like,
You're like, hey, you want to go hang out?
yeah,
he does talk about how he really likes how once you get to know Arnie, you see these glimmers of genius and this funny guy, and you kind of have to just hang out with him for a little bit before that comes out.
Yeah.
But we never see like the impetus for the first hangout, so it's kind of weird.
It's just part of being a kid, and that's probably why the story is about growing apart, because they don't really have the strong similarities, and especially when you have a person that falls into addiction, I guess. But
yeah. So why were you hated him?
I didn't like him because for me it's so hard to really follow somebody that's going into a downward spiral. Like it's interesting because like for The Shining, like I really loved following Jack Torrance. Like he's probably still my favorite King character. I could understand some of his obsessions because you have like the isolation there. But with this, it was like I felt like some of his addictions were a little too like convenient. The thing that I eerily enough related to with Arnie was his obsession with like I feel like vanity was a huge thing. Here's this kid that has finally the chance to be something or be somebody, and he obviously attributes it to Christine because Christine, for some reason, miraculously like cures his everything, like makes him like in the movie it's very like not another teen movie, She's All That, where it's just like, oh, he got rid of the glasses,
He's wearing leather.
And he's wearing leather and and the paint on the overalls. But for me in the book, he does have a huge drastic change, and he gets the popular girl. And so personally, and this is going to get a little dark, but whatever, I'm going to go there. I've said it multiple times in this podcast. I was like the really heavy set kid growing up. Like I was the Vern. I was the, what's the heavy set kid from Goonies? And Ben Hanscom. I was Ben Hanscom basically. So, but I started losing weight, but like I had a lot of like body dysmorphia, or body issues and all. And, like I started like becoming obsessed with like anorexia and like, and bulimia and I knew it was wrong, and I knew that like this is going to like really hurt my body, but I was also like I was dropping weight in ways I had never done it before, ever. And I mean, I was dropping like 20, 30, 40, and eventually like upwards to like 50 pounds. And I started noticing that the social profile on school actually changed. Like I had a little bit more confidence. I had like this, for lack of a better word, swagger that I never had before.
And people treat you differently,
and
visibly,
they do,
notably.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like I started actually talking to like people that like I would only talk to in jest in the hallways or whatever, and like it totally changed my life around, and I couldn't stop. Like at that point, it was like, but if I stop, I'm not going to have it anymore, and it's all going to be gone. And so in that respect, I thought King did a pretty good job in showing that, but there were certain scenes that just irritated me so much. I think it's mostly like the LeBay stuff. Yeah. Like I understand the vanity issue, but like once it started becoming like the whole LeBay thing, and knowing it wasn't Arnie but actually LeBay, and it just kind of destroyed the metaphor a little bit. For me, it was like it kind of got exhausting after a while, because I was like, all right, we're just seeing LeBay now, so whatever.
Well, I think I agree that he doesn't really pull it off. But I do like the concept of they start from similar places. They see themselves as this victim. Yeah. And that's the door opening for LeBay to get in there.
Yeah. Or anyone for addiction, I would imagine. Because they clearly feel that whatever is ailing them is the only thing that actually could be their crutch.
Yeah. And I sort of wonder if King... Like, I'm glad that LeBay and Arnie are both just like... I guess LeBay is more poor, but they're both middle-class white dudes. Like, King doesn't really get into, like, actual victimhood a lot because it's easier to make someone evil who's actually a little entitled and actually has it pretty good, but they perceive themselves to be a victim, and they're really angry and embittered at the world, and everything is a slight, and it makes them angrier.
Yeah. Well, my thing with I agree with Arnie. I actually do find him sympathetic. Oh, sorry, with Mike about Arnie. I actually do find him.
Of course, he agrees with Arnie. He's the one that wants to get behind the wheel and kill everyone.
I think if I tried to,
Dan's like, I can't stress enough how much I enjoy the vehicular deaths.
I love it. I'm loving it.
I think if I tried to kill anyone in a Ford Focus, like I could see myself trying to hit people and they could probably dodge it pretty quick because it's not that fast of a car. But with Arnie, I feel like I'm interested in Arnie when it's just him being obsessed with the car and him falling in love with this girl. But yeah, like when the LeBay stuff takes over, it just seems like so easy of an out. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, it was Arnie's obsession that got him connected to LeBay. But once it's like a paranormal force, like I would be fine if it was just the car is evil, the car is sentient, and Arnie's weaknesses get him attached to the car, and that overtakes him, kind of like a Gollum thing with Lord of the Rings. Because I think Arnie is actually pretty sympathetic until then, and I like that they show he's not as bad as someone like Harold Lauder is in The Stand. Like Harold from the beginning is so entitled and so me against the world, and Arnie shows likable qualities about himself early on, which I really enjoy that. And so when the LeBay thing takes over, it kind of becomes just not as interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, did you want to talk about Arnie a little bit?
Yeah, I was just gonna agree with you too, just because it seems like it's like not even Arnie anymore, and it's like all the stuff that's happening to Arnie and all the things that are changing with Arnie are LeBay, and it's like it's not really, it's more of like a possession versus like an addiction.
It's interesting, yeah. Like it just becomes a staple possession story, and that's not interesting to me anymore. Like it was more interesting when you actually had a good character study that was going on.
It's way more stakes to lose a friend because of the friend
Yeah.
than it is to lose a friend because of an angry ghost.
And they do the whole like 1997 miniseries Shining ending where he has like a little like weird dream where he sees Arnie. He's like, "Hey, thanks, Dennis. You know, you did it."
Hey,
you know, it's just like, what?
it's
like,
me.
this is so stupid.
It seems a lot more like helpless, you know? Like, it's like, well, he can't fix himself at all because he's possessed, really, like, by this LeBay character and, like, his feelings and stuff. And he can't really, like, even if he wanted to, like, take that character, if Stephen King wanted to, like, write Arnie as, like, making his own choices and stuff, you couldn't really do that. Because it was all LeBay.
Yeah.
Know?
I think he tries. There's some stuff in the middle where, I mean, he's very overt about it, where he's like, Arnie, I saw a glimpse, and this was my last chance. Like, if Arnie doesn't come through in this moment, then LeBay has won, and I'm never going to get him back. Like, he sees that Arnie is maybe fighting a little bit or willfully ignoring the fact that he's getting taken over, but it's not enough, and we lose him as a character, so that we can't really care about it.
I feel like the whole LeBay storyline is actually my biggest gripe with
Let's
the book.
just talk about it, because Roland LeBay and Christine,
they're all tied
like,
together.
are they
Same
separate
thing, yeah.
characters? Like, I'm so confused about it, and I was trying to dig into the explanations that are present in the book. And like,
Well, I read it on the Wikipedia summary, and I actually didn't quite get this when reading it, but it does make sense looking back that when LeBay's daughter choked on the hamburger, he subconsciously didn't help her because it made her a human sacrifice to Christine, and that's what secured the bond between them. That just seems so convoluted. I mean, I think that's what the book is going for, but that is such a convoluted explanation. And
that's the part I'm talking about, where like his brother is like, he maybe had some sort of intuition that he was investing the car with a supernatural power with his anger, but I feel like the book is so committed to portraying Christine as a female energy, and it even uses those words on page, hold on, it's on my notes here, and this is like right even before we learn this about LeBay. It says the terrible female force that animated her. So like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Is my question.
Well,
It almost
like-
seems like it's like two separate things. Like there's like this whole stuff happening with LeBay and like his past being tied to Christine, and then also like Christine having its own personality.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a mixture of like both like LeBay loving Christine and like making Christine alive, and then also like Christine having its own like her own feelings.
But did it exist? Did he create Christine?
But that's what's
and she can't drive herself without being
Which came
animated
first?
by him.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's
what?
it's very convoluted, and it starts out with the problem is that you have the two George LeBay sequences. Funny that the guy's a high school teacher and he doesn't know how to tell a story for shit. But he basically talks about how in the beginning of the book that his brother Ronnie Roland
the gunslinger.
Roland the gunslinger, yeah. Rolly LeBay became obsessed with the car. So you think that the car already was intrinsically evil,
But it never
then
did
at the-
anything evil before him.
No. And then the second half of the book, when he goes back to everybody, he's like, oh, I didn't tell you something. Rattles off all these stories about LeBay again. And then Dennis is like, well, it could be that, and he's like, oh, what were you going to say? And he's like, oh, nothing. And then as a reader, I'm like, no, Dennis, you need to, what the hell were you going to say? And it
It's
seems
kind of
like,
a life or death situation.
Yeah.
You need to ask him to finish the sentence.
and Dennis is basically, his assumption is that, like, I guess LeBay infused the car with evil or something like that. So it's like, even King has no idea. And honestly, in this quote, this kind of tells it back in the same interview. This interview is just, whew, what a gem for this podcast. The same interviewer is like, it's difficult to tell from reading the book whether Christine is evil herself or whether LeBay makes her evil. From what source do you see the evil emanating? And King writes, or says, that's one of the questions with which the movie started to wrestle. Was it LeBay or was it the car? I understand that their answer is that it was the car. In fact, it may be, and I'm just guessing, that LeBay isn't anywhere near as sinister as he is in the book. I think that in the book, there is the suggestion that it's probably LeBay rather than the car. When the film people came to me, I said, look, this is your decision. You decide what you're going to do with the story. But later, I was told that in the opening sequence, when the car rolls off the assembly line, one of the workmen is dead behind the wheel. This would give you the idea that the car was bagged from the beginning. So even then, in that interview, he still has no idea.
No, I think he's saying it's
Like,
LeBay.
I think
But I
he's...
just don't get it with the whole, like, it's a huge theme that the car is female. Like, it's so important to the book.
yeah, it's true.
Like, every time her tires squeal, it's described as, like, an insane woman's murderous
Yeah.
scream. Like,
Yeah.
and the whole thing about calling the car her, like, maybe it's just like, oh, Roland LeBay, like, created his ideal woman in this car.
Well, even that like quote from like Lee, Lee or whatever. She says to like Arnie, she's like, or they have like a tussle or whatever in the car, like right before the hitchhiker thing happens, and she's like, oh, you shouldn't be jealous of the car, and she's like, well, it's a girl, like, or
Cars are
whatever.
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah, like,
And you know LeBay would never consent to being called a woman in any form.
No,
Yeah.
God, no. He'd rather be called a shitter than that. But either way, all of this could have been solved if you just had it as the car as just being evil, because you already created this evil car. Like, you already created LeBay as like, yeah, this guy was weathered down from this car and he doesn't seem like a nice guy. That's it. You don't need to go anything else. You could do the American Werewolf thing where everyone starts popping up and is like, hey, guess what? We're stuck in this car. Like that's
Could've
fine.
been cool. Like, oh man, what's this guy dressed in such like old school dress in this car with his throat slit? Like, that'd
Yeah.
be creepy. Like past murders.
Exactly. Yeah, it could have been like, like Nightmare on Elm Street 4, where, it's like Freddy. All the souls are on like his body or like on the pizza or something like that. Like all the souls get trapped in there forever.
Yeah.
like 1408, like whenever
Exactly.
all the,
Or the
hotel.
Overlook. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. And like maybe he was just worried that it was going to be too much like that or whatever. But guess what? Like, just simplify it. It
Guess
doesn't-
what, Steven?
Guess what? I got it, Steven.
Sometimes simple is better.
Simple is better.
I think he was
better.
trying to do. I mean, and I think this is an admirable goal. I think he's just trying to. It's like a fable. It's like this man was angry and the anger created a haunting and you shouldn't be that way. Like, he's
Yeah.
trying to isolate it to this thing, which, like, again, admirable. I kind of like that story. I just don't think he told it very well. And
No.
so I agree that it would have just been cooler if the car was evil.
Well, I definitely thought after like watching the movie too, I was like, oh, I guess it was the car the whole time, just because that first scene or whatever where like it comes off the
building,
assembly
yeah.
line and
even-
kills someone.
Even Roland's mother, when George talks to him about how the mother thought that Roland was a changeling. Like, at 6 months old, he just became this, like, angry fucking baby. And she was like, I don't know what happened. Like, it's like, the fairies exchanged him for something evil.
But see that's what's even more complicated, because the car clearly had nothing to do with him then. The car didn't even
No, I
probably
know.
exist at that
I
point. So
know.
it's like,
I really do think the book is trying to pin it all on LeBay. Like, I don't know how...
it doesn't make sense outside that, because the car is 1958.
Yeah.
So it only exists for so long. I just 2 words, fucking stupid. That's all I can lead to it. It's so overcomplicated and overconvoluted, and the whole like it does the worst thing in horror for me, which is over-explain it, and it's such a big trope of like late 90s, early 2000s horror, like in What Lies Beneath, or all these other what could have been great horror movies that usually the third act pins it to some stupid like sentimental like long narrative that takes away the horror of it all because then you know exactly why. You know, it's.
Except you don't, because it doesn't make sense.
But
in
it's
this
like
case.
but you know it's so much now that it's
Yeah.
like you kind of have some idea. It's like, oh, it's just some crotchety old man that's gonna keep being an asshole.
Can I,
And yeah, go for it.
If we're on the character of LeBay and Christine, I just think it's so funny that on page 360, and I just want to know where this fits into the general mythology and their personalities, whether or not they're separate. She is going to kill somebody, right?
Yeah.
A turn blinker came on. One amber winking eye in the snow. She turned left toward JFK Drive. She's using her turn signals? What the fuck is that? Like, where does that fit into anything? LeBay would never use
No.
a turn signal.
No.
Christine would never use a turn signal, unless it's like this mocking little gesture of like...
This is going off on a tangent or whatever. How much did this book make you kind of hungry? Like for like really shitty food. They go to like Kentucky Fried Chicken. They go to McDonald's. They go to like this like pizza place that I was like dying to be at.
Don't
like
they eat like
The Geno's
mustard
pizza?
sandwiches?
Oh,
though?
yeah, that's really weird. First off, I hate Wonder Bread, and so like when
love
Arnie
Wonder
and Dennis are like sitting, when Arnie and Dennis are like sitting there like eating these like mustard sandwiches on Wonder Bread, that was actually the scariest part of the
I
book.
feel like
for
it's
me.
not a sandwich if the only thing on it is mustard.
No, it's not a sandwich.
Did,
It's
didn't, what did Dennis keep stealing from his sister, like ring dings or something?
Oh,
I got,
yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
actually not eating any sweets in January, so it's I really had a hankering for some ring dings
and
or
some yodels. I think it was,
yodels, yeah.
yodels.
Yeah,
What
yodels, yeah.
was really funny is like this horrific incident happens at the very end, and she's just like sitting there eating the yodels or whatever. It's like, man, is that the only defining characteristic this girl's gonna have? But yeah, the thing with LeBay is interesting is like I thought that he was such a cool, compelling character when you just got glimpses of him in the beginning with the back brace. I thought as he went on, it became too much of a kind of stereotypical villain. I thought the car itself was very frightening in certain respects, like the stuff with Darnell when he's alone in the garage. I thought is the scariest scene with Christine in the entire book. Although I do love how like the car itself allows King to indulge in his like sort of genre sensibilities. Like that entire sequence with Darnell in the house when it's like getting it reminded me of like Gremlins or something like that.
Oh, that
Even
was
though-
awesome, yeah.
Even though
That
it
was
came out
good.
before Gremlins, but like how over the top it gets, like, you know, like he
Because
must.
it's a car, like I mean, you're yelling throughout the whole movie, like just get off the road.
Yeah.
like
Yeah, well, the movie is insane because like the guy goes by like 4 or 5 different things where you could just climb on and like the car would just would bang into it.
But
and you'd
King
be
sort
fine.
of makes you believe like maybe it could climb up there.
It could be,
and
yeah.
get you. I don't know.
Well, I was making the joke that it was like the Ghostbusters toy from a long time ago. It was like a Volkswagen Bug, and then like the legs stretch up so like the car goes up or something like that. But maybe Christine does that. But I almost kind of wish she just went all full in on like a Transformers type Christine thing, and he just she started like running around as like LeBay, like the car like transformed into like a humanoid version of LeBay or something. Just go all in.
Back brace on it.
Yeah, yeah. There's like a little back brace thing to it. I love that. Yeah,
It just
Like-
says shitters
like-
all the time. Shitters.
like the fin, just like the fins on the back of the car, like turn into the back brace. You know, he's just like, get over here. They're like, no. I got nothing else on the cars though, and LeBay.
Yeah. I've exhausted my venting.
what about
Exhausted.
Ooh,
Yeah, another pun. What about what we talk? Should we talk about Arnie's parents or
Sure.
Dennis? I mean, I did like. It is weird with Arnie's mom because I actually thought early on I kind of saw where she was coming from, and I did you guys see Lady Bird at all?
yeah. I
So it
know.
reminded me of that thing of like, oh, she just wasn't appreciated, and that she actually did have a lot of love to give, and she was hardworking and all this. But then the book really goes to great lengths to make her this horrible bitch, I guess. And I don't know. I felt like that was kind of a cheap move because early on I actually did like her, and I did see where she was coming from, and I was kind of on her side. And then King does that a lot with his overbearing mothers.
Yes.
It's like he wants them to not be ambiguous at all. He wants them just to be like these stone cold, horrible people. And I don't know. So her arc kind of went down the drain for me a little
I
bit.
feel like he takes it as permission because he makes her somewhat likable in the beginning. He's like, and now I can go full on with it
Yeah.
because like I made you believe she's a person, but like see how terrible she gets, and I hate it.
He does the same thing in the Dead Zone, and I mean pretty much not Carrie. I guess Carrie from the get go.
No, Carrie for sure. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and we talked about this before. It's always weird because King did not have much of a relationship with his dad.
Yeah.
and he had a good relationship with his mom. But I feel like he always makes the moms, like the mothers in his book, kind of either shrewish or very overbearing. It's interesting. I'm not sure where that comes from.
It's almost every one of his books up until now. Like, you know, Salem's Lot, you got the mother for the romantic lead in that.
Oh, Susan,
it's for Susan's mother.
I feel like he does it with Wendy.
Yeah.
And like, it just rubs me.
Well,
such
go
the
off
wrong
on
way.
it. Let's go down that road for a
Well,
second.
I want to
Like,
go
'cause-
down that road during Pound Cake, which is where I put all my sexism
Okay.
stuff.
Okay. Well, that's
But-
we'll
Alright.
save that for that slice.
Carrie's mother, I think, is actually a cool character.
Yeah,
like
no,
I
she's-
like her
Yeah, like-
because
yeah.
she's like evil and like totally subverts motherhood in a way that I think is more original than what he's doing with Regina.
There is something to be said of loss of control, and I've seen it happen with with my friends' parents or even my own parents, where it does come from a place of love, but once they lose that power, it's like all bets are off. They're just going to go nuts
Yeah.
and go crazy. And I've absolutely seen like older couples where like you have like the Michael that's just sitting there kind of doing his own thing, like, and you know, eventually you have like one-on-ones with him and you realize like, wow, there is like it's like a little sage, you know, like a little sage over here in the corner. I thought Michael was that in this book. Like, I thought actually Michael is the most sympathetic character out of anyone here, and he's the most logical. Like, he's trying to find the right line. He's trying to basically toe the line between like Arnie's obsessions without losing his son, and also trying to be true to his family. Like that whole section where he takes him out to the airport is great. Like.
Yeah.
One of my favorite chapters in the whole story.
I was a little confused about what the book was trying to say about him because it seemed at some points like King was trying to say, don't be this much of a pushover.
Yeah.
Like, don't let your wife do this to you. Don't lose your spark because you're trying to keep your family in line. But I agree also that he is the most logical, likable.
Well, he was
character.
trying to like make the best of both worlds and trying to make like both Regina and Artie happy by like be like, okay, you can keep the car, but you could keep it at the airport.
Yeah.
And like we'll pay for it, and we just want you to like be happy and be safe and like.
But there were so many lines that were like, and he was such a hangdog who had been beaten like down and was a shell of a man, and like you're supposed to think like, oh, like maybe it's the wrong decision.
Well, there's
But
some
I
great
don't
pound
know.
cake between him and Regina.
Oh yeah, they King is big on talking about the nightly sex habits of his characters. Like
Yeah.
and I don't know, maybe I'm just being naive, but I'm like, man, all these older couples, they even at their worst, they make themselves have sex every night. They're just like,
Yeah.
like he always says that, like,
Oh,
oh,
it's
well, they had,
time.
yeah, no, exactly. Like even though they hate each other and it was loveless and they just did it every night, it's like weird. But no, with Michael Cunningham too, I also got a little tired of. I agree that I think he does come off as this kind of measured character, even though he doesn't vocalize it as much around his wife. But the conversation, I think this happened like 5 times. He had this conversation with Arnie that was like, all right, how about we do this? I'm on your side, son. And then like, look, you're being a little shit and you've gone past the point of no return. Like he says that to him so many times. And I feel like the back and forth between Arnie and his parents just gets so repetitive after a certain amount of pages.
I wonder if he's supposed to be too like a version of Arnie that could have worked out, because he's attacked from different angles by Regina and by Arnie, and like he's sort of learned how to take it and like make things work out for him, whereas Arnie reacts in anger.
Yeah.
But I still just can't decide if this is portrayed as a positive, because even in third person we're just told that he is like he's a doormat, like,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a desirable thing to be.
I think he's definitely like a cautionary tale for Arnie, and I think he starts buying that when he.
But for the readers as well, or just for Arnie?
I think maybe just for Arnie. I think Michael.
Because
Michael's
Dennis sees him
fate-
like that too, though. He's
That's
like,
true. Yeah, maybe for everyone then. You know.
gotta find the balance, you know, like don't
Yeah.
let women push you around. Is
Yeah.
the moral of the story, whether they're cars or people.
I mean, that's true. That's true.
What did you guys, speaking to Jocko, what do you guys think of Hunk Dennis? That's what I call him throughout the book. Yeah, how do you like old Denny?
I thought he was kind of a jerk. I don't know.
You think he's a jerk?
Yeah, I was just like the way he was like talking and stuff, like especially in those like first chapters, is just kind of like those, especially the way he was talking about sex and like women and stuff. I was just like, wow, okay, Dennis.
Yeah. You want to?
I don't know. I guess I like Dennis.
You like Dennis?
I think I do. But I think I like him for reasons that are why his character is poorly written, which is that like I feel like he has these realizations that go along with growing up, and I identified with them. Plus, it's hard for me to like a character who's like, yeah, I guess I'm like this popular guy, but I also really like Arnie, and like I'm not ashamed of that, and like he just seems like an empathetic sort of guy, and he's very honest about things that he's ashamed of, like liking Lee, and I don't know, he's kind of boring, but
Yeah.
I don't find it anything too much to dislike about him, aside from what Jocelyn's mentioning, which I think is just King, like, well, boys will be boys.
Yeah.
His little exploits at the drive-in theater.
The fucking cheerleader thing is awful. How he talks about the cheerleader
Roseanne?
is really bad.
Yeah.
She's only named by Arnie, by the way.
Yeah,
Like, Dennis
that's true.
doesn't name her. She's
No,
just
it's just
the
the cheerleader. I do think that's kind of funny that he's just bothered by Roseanne, but just keeps wanting to like be with her. Like, you know, he's just there because it's, I guess it's like part of the societal thing of high school, where you just have to be, you know, together, because those are like, and that's another thing that's like King loves to write about, like ever since the beginning with like with Carrie. He loves commenting on like the social normalcies of high school, or the implied normalcies basically. But I feel like they're not as earned as they are in Carrie. Like, I feel like, for example, like, not to jump away from Dennis too much, but even like the bullies, I thought these were kind of like, you know, the hand-me-down bullies compared to his other ones that he's had. But like for Dennis, I guess like the whole narrative of him as a jock and a football player is kind of half-assed in my opinion.
He doesn't seem to care about football.
He doesn't seem to care about anything other than just like this story that he's telling, which I guess makes sense because he's the writer, but at the same time, it does make him very compelling of a character. Like, I have no idea what he wants to do. I have no idea like what his hopes and aspirations are, other than just being a friend. And maybe that's all you need for this story. But when you're spending so much time with this person, he's the protagonist. It's like he's like a lesser Ben Mears. Like, in my opinion.
What does he grow up to do? Like, don't we learn he goes to college and he majors?
He's a teacher, I think, right? Like a history teacher.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I guess you're totally right. Like, his whole function is to just care about other people.
Yeah.
Do you? And I wanted to talk to you and Dan specifically about the way that male friendships are portrayed in this book, and whether or not you think it's true to life.
I thought overall the dynamic between Dennis and Arnie, not necessarily a football player befriending a nerd, because that, I mean, I'll just be honest, at my high school, that wasn't like a thing that happened a ton, but there are definitely friendships, and I've had a lot of them, where there's a definite disparity between status of the two males in question. Like, one of them is either just more liked or better with people, and others aren't. But I guess I'm saying is I think every guy, and a lot of women too, have that friend who they find themselves having to defend to other people a lot of the time. And I thought the book captured that really well, like how when Arnie got into a fight, Dennis was right there. I mean, that dynamic felt very true to me. The thing that didn't ring quite as true was, I don't know, inside jokes are definitely a part of friendship, but their kind of language together, like, oh, like ring-a-dang-do, fuck you too, ha 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 he, or whatever it was. I'm paraphrasing.
You don't say that every day to your best friend.
That just felt so. They did that so much that it just felt. I mean, I don't know. Maybe my friendships have just been different, but our inside jokes just aren't like. It's not like, oh, go fuck yourself up a ladder, you wet wiggle. Oh, hey.
Please give us more of these. These are so good.
They do it a little bit in the body also. Like, oh, go piss up a rope. Like,
yeah, it's a King thing for sure.
Like, fuck you, not if you fuck me first. Or I'm just
I know he does do that. Like
that. I guess those colloquialisms just. I don't even know if they're false. They just got like a little bit annoying to me after.
I thought that was just more like him writing for the times. Like,
that's
that
true.
was just how the 80s were, like, or the 70s, I guess. Like, I don't know. It was kind of weird. I don't know. That was
like how vulnerable they are with each other, and how tender Dennis is to Arnie in moments of vulnerability were very touching to me. But also, like, I was like, I know no dudes that have copped to this. Like,
that was pretty. I don't. It's weird because when I think of a friend of mine from high school who I'm still in touch with, who I guess I could argue would had the most like issues, like he. Just with sex, and he caused a lot of problems at my sister's wedding and all this other stuff.
I knew you were talking about this.
You know what I'm talking about. But I'm still friends with him, and he, I think overall he's a good guy, but we had a bit of a falling out for a while. But anyway, when I think in high school, I guess he was a friend who you found yourself defending a lot of the time, and he actually had some really vulnerable moments with me and some other friends. Like, I remember one night we were driving home, and he was drunk, I think, but he actually, you know what's funny is he had a very similar relationship with his parents as Arnie did. Like, and actually even dynamic wise, I would say his mom and dad are probably the closest people I can think of to Regina and Michael. And he kind of broke down talking about his parents and just life in general and everything, and was very emotionally honest with me and a bunch of other guys. And that wasn't like the everyday thing in our relationship, but there were definitely moments of tenderness like that, even with people who I think others would perceive as being crass and maybe not that vulnerable. So yes, so that's a very long way of saying I thought the book's representation of that was very, very accurate. I don't know if Mike, if you had similar experiences in high school.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that really hit me was when Dennis actually like reconnects with Arnie, and Arnie's already kind of changed and fallen in with the wrong crowd and taken on personalities of LeBay. Like he notices that, and he realizes that there are like glimpses of the old Arnie, but that he's changed for the worst, and that he's never going to get his friend back again. And that stuff felt really real to me. It felt like, because I've certainly had, especially now we're growing older and we reconnect with old high school buddies. Sometimes people, when you go home and you run into people from like elementary school or even old grad school buddies, and you come back and you're like, oh wow, like things did really work out or things didn't work out. And like there's one friend I have that has come in and out of my life a bunch of times, and I always see him like almost like a Teddy DeChamp for me. For this, he kind of reminded me of Arnie in the sense when Arnie says things that are just like, LeBay's sayings, and like Dennis like kind of almost like recoils from it and is just like kind of grossed out, but he still is like hanging out there. But that whole feeling that Dennis has when he's in the car driving back, and he's just like, they said it's like a nightmare ride home, and he sees like all the different ghosts and everything. For me, that was like, it wasn't a scary moment, but I just metaphorically, it made a lot of sense, because it's that feeling when you reconnect with these old buddies, the first thing in your mind is, how long am I going to be able to do this? Like, how long is this going? How long am I going to hang out with this person right now? Like, when can we like actually part again? Because it's not so much like, oh, I love hanging out, and
It's
reconnecting.
an obligation now.
Yeah, because like, and it's the two different scenes for me that really hit hard in this book are like the Thanksgiving scene where they do reconnect for a while, and they really don't like. Or Dennis actually doesn't really want Arnie to leave because he's like kind of the old Arnie again. And it's not until he starts leaving that he actually starts seeing the LeBay stuff. Whereas it's almost like the opposite towards the end when they actually meet up for New Year's. And he's like realized like, oh no, it's like all the glimpses are not enough for me. Like I actually really want to get away from this guy.
That scene was really scary to me.
Yeah.
Like how he just keeps putting away beers but doesn't get drunk, and like it was like really creepy.
And he starts saying how like he sounds like he's like a 4-year-old or something like that. And like
but don't you ever wonder, like I feel like this is a human experience thing, like when you get together with an old friend, don't you, like, I'm always like, were they always like this? Who changed the most?
Yeah.
Did we both change? Was I more tolerant of this before?
I've definitely
or
thought of
did
that.
they completely change?
Yeah. Well, it's always easier to pin it on the other person in a way, especially if you've left your hometown and someone hasn't, and you see them back there. The tempting thing is always to be like, oh, well, I outgrew this person, which maybe is true, but then you also do have to wonder, wait, well, maybe have I become too elitist? Have I forgotten about my values? Have I, I think it does go both ways, and it's very rare, I think, that the person on either side of it is going to think that they're the one at fault. Do you know what I mean? Like that requires a level of self-awareness that I think is really hard to achieve, even for the most self-aware people. And yeah, I love that Thanksgiving scene too because of that.
Well, it becomes like a remember when, and that's like, anytime you have those sort of like meetups and you start talking about the past, it's fun because you're like talking about things that you haven't been able to talk about for a while. But then when that's done and you actually start about like talking about the current realities of things, and you realize that person's not there for you in ways that they were previously, and they're not really as interested, and they kind of just
never go back.
You can never go back, and it's like, all right, well, that's it. And most of the times you don't actually meet up again unless you do, and then you're just regurgitating the same things that you've done again and again. That's what's the danger of nostalgia, and that's why I think their relationship and their friendship and the way that King ties that nostalgia to this is interesting to me. Like you're never going to get the past again as much as you want to draw from it, and it's also ignoring the kind of horrors at hand. And their relationship, I thought that was actually one of the stronger points of this book.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's interesting because like this is a bromance, and
yeah, he loves him.
He loves him.
Yeah.
He does, yeah. And I wouldn't mind if there was more of that in the book as opposed to fucking Sherlock Dennis figuring out all the seriously, because I agree. I actually think the relationship stuff, wing and dang doos aside, I mean, I think it's very realistic and palpable, and those scenes do stand out to me. I mean, yeah, like that. I think I pinned that in a word processor of the god. That hospital scene where they're enjoying Thanksgiving. I mean, that was just such lovely writing and really cool to see. And then it becomes a horror novel in a very much more realistic fashion because, like you said, we've all related to having the friend who has changed or been in a situation where maybe we're the ones who have changed, and you slowly realize I like what you said about, oh man, like when can I get out of here? You know, that, and the fact that it ends on that and not the warm scene was something that was truly horrifying for me.
What about you know, talk about the parents?
Yeah,
Dennis's parents.
I feel like Kenny is the good version of Michael.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Anytime you're going to talk to Kenny, he's going to have some sort of like, yep, that makes sense. Like he's got like this, everything he says has got this like intuition. It's like the best intuition out of everyone. Like
he also trusts Dennis implicitly in a way that no father trusts their 17-year-old son. He's like, well, you don't have to tell me everything, but let me tell you a story about Will Darnell. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and he's always working on stuff. Like it's almost like the Muppet Babies, where you only see like the legs from like the owner.
Nanny.
Yeah, the nanny. Like I almost felt like you just every time like Kenny, you saw Kenny, you never really saw him. He was like kneeled over something, like you saw his back, or like it's like almost like a Wilson from like Home Improvement. I'm just like dishing out the pop culture references.
Is he
right
the
now.
one that makes toys, or is
Yes.
that Michael? Oh my
No,
god!
that's-
And he makes toys
Kenny.
for the children, and he phased out the soldiers after the Vietnam War because he just knows it's not the time.
I love it. I loved Kenny. Anytime he was there, I slowed down a little
Favorite
bit to
character
enjoy
of the
my
book.
time with him. He might be my favorite character, actually.
He doesn't die; he makes it out.
He does make it out, thank God.
Yeah,
because
all the Gilders do,
Yeah, the Gilders deserve to make it out.
including unnamed Mrs. Gilder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember much about Mrs. Gilder at all. Like, did they even go into her? I remember the sister.
No, she's not
talk
named
at all, or
Yeah.
no lines. I think they talk about like him being in the hospital, like talking about her, but like that was really it.
Yeah. Hey, there's only so many female characters that King can write, right? No, I'm just trying.
the unseen.
Mike's like, the book is called Christine, okay?
Yeah.
So like, get off his back.
No. That was absolutely a dig at King.
I know.
But
Elaine's cute.
Elaine's cute. Yeah, she likes.
Yeah.
She reminded me of like a John Hughes sort of sibling. Yeah. Just like, look how crazy this girl is. She's just always snooping around, and the back and forth with the yodels, and that's her defining characteristic is yodels and listening in on Dennis.
What about Dennis does have a couple weird lines about like getting nervous that his sister is starting to grow breasts or something.
Yes.
Oh my god,
That was
Yeah.
so weird.
Maybe it's for pound cake, but
He's like, and then I tickled her for a while, but it was kind of sexual, so I stopped.
Yeah, that was definitely.
That was a
It's
weird part.
just a kingism. What about it is funny because the book feels like it has a small cast compared to something like The Stand or Salem's Lot, but we're going down. I'm like, man, I guess there are a lot of characters, and we talked about Christine LeBay, Arnie, Dennis's family, Arnie's family, and then there's still like all these greasers like Buddy Repperton and Moochie and and Darnell and all that too.
It'll go a little quicker, I think. I mean,
yeah, they're all kind of they're like a side of the same coin. I feel like. I mean, I love. Hey, we all love the King greasers, like the King writes sociopathic bullies like no one else, and I do appreciate them in this novel.
Let's talk about Lee super quick because it's going to be super quick because she's not.
Oh
a
God,
character.
Lee. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Forgot about
Easily
Lee.
forgotten because she's just a perfect high school girl.
Yeah. Oh, I have Dennis's
First impressions of
Oh
Lee.
yeah, this is
Let's do it. I mean, you could save it for a pound cake, but
Yeah, just do it.
This is it. So it wasn't even the first time I had noticed her because Lee Cabot was, to put it with perfect simplicity, a beautiful girl. By the way, this is on page 195 on the Pocket Books edition. And as Dennis continues, in a work of fiction, I've noticed that writers always invent a flaw here or a flaw there in the women and girls they make up. Maybe because they think real beauty is a stereotype or because they think a flaw or two makes the lady more realistic. So she'll be beautiful except her lower lip is too long, or in spite of the fact that her nose is a little too sharp, or maybe she's flat-chested. It's always something.
because if you're flat-chested, there's no way in hell you could be beautiful.
There's absolutely no way in hell. But Lake Cabot was just beautiful, with no qualifications. Her skin was fair and perfect, usually with a touch of perfectly natural color. She stood about 5'8", tall for a girl, but not too tall, and her figure was lovely. And here we go with King's favorite description. her firm high breasts, a small waist that looked as if you could almost put your hands around it. Anyway, you long to try. Nice hips, good legs. At this point, he's not even doing sentences. Beautiful face, sexy, smooth figure. Artistically dull, I suppose, without too long lower lip or a sharp nose or a wrong bump or bulge anywhere. Or not even an endearing crooked tooth. She must have had a great orthodontist too, but she sure didn't feel dull when you were looking at her. I was like, does this guy like her or what?
It's like he's describing a horse he's about to buy.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
Yeah, it's a little.
Did he capitalize good legs like he does in The Shining?
I wish he did. That would have been a good, a good King's Dominion.
But she knows the perfect thing to say, like. She's on board with Dennis's plan, and she's resourceful enough to not be a hindrance. She's just perfect. Like, she does nothing wrong.
Yeah.
She looks great.
When I was like listening to the audiobook, it was like one guy reading the whole thing, and he was just every time he'd go into like Lee's voice, he'd be like, "Oh,
oh my god, that's funny that you mentioned that because Justin was making fun of that too because I can see he was listening to the audiobook and he was saying he said it gets really like flowery whenever she talks or something
like out of all the characters, like it's like pretty like huh huh huh, and then it like leaves like oh oops I'm a girl.
I mean that would be so distracting to me. I wouldn't even be able to like listen to that.
It is kind of like okay, like I get it, like okay, come on.
I would love to actually go back to that audiobook then and actually hear the whole hamburger sequence with Lee when she's like choking and it's like, oh my god, I just would love to know what the voice.
It's still that voice too.
Oh, is it
like,
really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's gonna kill me.
I
can't believe it, Arnie.
A little bit of blood into
To her
burger.
credit, I feel like the only strong noticeable thing her character does that's not like perfect girl, even though it still is perfect because she's the first one to put her foot down about the car and say, there's something about the car, I'm not getting back in it.
Yeah.
So fuck you if
Yeah.
you want me to be in that car.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean that's cool.
Yeah.
I like when they do talk about her honey colored hair a lot. That's like the one thing I remember. Like, oh, is it? And it was raw, the color of raw honey, not liquid honey. So I don't know. But yeah,
It's an important distinction.
Personally, my favorite part about Lee was when she was able to believe the paranormal like pretty fast.
Right.
You know.
She seemed to accept it way more than like Dennis did.
Right.
Even.
That's
Like,
what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
just
That's
like,
the only cool part
this
about
car
her
is
character.
Yeah,
up,
like I like, and I know I did that tone as like being sarcastic, but I really wasn't. Like, it was a relief to know that you didn't have to go through the whole like rigmarole that like Dennis did. But yeah, but Lee, I feel like Lee could have definitely been far more fleshed out and given, and I think maybe it could have been addressed at a separate section, maybe or something.
I would
Like,
have loved to hear her perspective.
yeah,
King has a thing for girls in sweaters. I mean, I know it's just set in
He loves sweaters.
in a cold time of year, but he's always like a light blue sweater. She looks so good.
yeah. I mean, that's got to be one of his fetishes because he loves women in sweaters, like almost.
he
like,
likes to fondle his sweaters.
He does fondle sweater. No, but he like even going back to like Salem's Lot, I'm pretty sure Susan is in like sweaters and
They're
stuff.
always
too.
in sweaters.
Always in sweaters.
I know. There's a lot. I'm gonna sound so gross here, but I always remember this from a kid because it was such a weird line. And I remember when Ben first sees Bev, he says something like, "Oh, she always wore baggy sweaters, so he couldn't tell if she had any good chest work going on yet," or something like that. Like I always like that'll be a pound cake for when we get to it. But
the pound cake for it is probably going to be
gonna
the
be
pound
whole
cake and
episode.
pound cake. Whole episode. We're dedicating this whole week to pound cake on it, specifically just with Bev for the most part.
No, he likes tight sweaters.
Loves tight
King
sweaters,
likes
but
tight sweaters.
it's I guess I did like the fact that they don't get together.
At the end.
I thought that was very realistic.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
The fact that they only lasted like a couple years, I thought was really great. Because
sad.
you could have easily had it where they like survived together and they bonded and.
Hey, we'll see. I guess it is. I know it's realistic because that shit happens. But to me, like if it had been me, no way would I have broken up with that dude.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you shared that is like bonding you together for life, like it or not. I feel
Yeah.
like, but I know that that's not always the case, and that more times than not, when you go through a trauma like that, you do actually split up.
Well, it's like
it's because I haven't gone through it. Maybe I would break up with the person, but I always felt like, oh my god, yeah, of course, like because nobody else is going to understand the most pivotal moment of your entire
Yeah.
life except this one person.
And I think it's kind of like when you hear about like couples that break up and their child dies.
Yeah,
It was never the same and
but
stuff.
this
So
is, I feel like they won, they triumphed.
they did triumph, yeah. But
Well,
like
do
he
you guys
talks about
think,
how
though-
like even like I think he's like talking about like alluding to like when he's like going down on, or like he's like kissing her, and then he would see LeBay, and then like doing this the gross quote, which I could. In that sense, like you had that quote, like it's just so disgusting. Like
there's nothing fun to be behind the wheel of your own car, except for pussy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just if I had seen that all the time when I was in that couple, I'd be like, all right, I gotta go. For me, it was like I just thought it was a relief that they didn't end up together, because it was kind of it added some sort of pathos to Dennis a little bit too, because it's like it kind of maybe that's the reason why he really truly went back to this story, because he still loves her.
I guess I just can't imagine you marry someone else and like you never talk about
Yeah.
this. Yeah, because they wouldn't believe you.
Well,
it's such like a huge part of their lives too. Like it's like their entire high school.
Yeah.
And even after that.
Well, that's kind of like what happens to Bev and it. Spoiler alert for anyone who's listening. Like they have this like traumatic incident that happens, and she moves on to her really awesome husband Tom.
So awesome.
Yeah,
he's
he's a cool guy.
But the whole point is that like she shouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Well, I remember you were upset about the ending to Cujo because you thought they should have broken up.
I do.
Their child died.
Yeah.
Which I think is realistic, like for sure. That's so hard to get over.
Yeah.
You can't get over it. It's not hard to get over. You just can't.
Yeah, no, because they stay together at the end. It's like hinted that they're kind of like working things out. And
yeah. Buddy Repperton and company.
Not a huge fan.
Yeah, he's kind of a jerk.
I'm not a fan of him as a jerk, but also I just didn't. I thought he was too easy of a bully for me. King writes great bullies. I thought this one was a little too like stereotypical for me.
They're all the same.
They're all the same. What's the difference?
I liked it. I mean, yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess they are the same in that. The problem is if you go to it, like Henry Bowers, and then the book is longer and they just go more into Henry Bowers' internal character, whereas with Buddy and Moochie and even Darnell, I mean, really, because Darnell, I know he's not a greaser, but I consider him a bully character. They are just defined by being, just by being bullies and being kind of jerks. But I mean, I still always appreciate when King writes completely irredeemable villains like that. I just feel like he does it in a way that gets at humanity's viciousness in a way that other writers can't. But so not memorable necessarily, but I didn't mind that they were one note, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess because they're not really that essential. It just felt so like, hey, we kind of need some struggles for Arnie. Why don't we throw in bullies here, and maybe we get like 4 of them, or maybe 5. Maybe 6. Actually, as the story goes on with the bullies, let's just keep adding more of them, so that we can.
How many are there?
It starts out with like 4, I thought, or even like 3, and then all of a sudden it just starts adding more. It's like, oh, then there's Sandy.
It is weird how they put another bully who we haven't even met yet, and it really had nothing to do with it in the
freshman,
card.
Yeah,
the freshman. Yeah.
Was it supposed to underscore how evil Christine really is? Like,
I guess that one, and just like showing how it kind of it gets everyone caught up in it. But I don't know. Like I said, man, I think to me, because the best scenes in the book were these elaborate death pieces, I was like, yeah, man, add some more strawmen to the car. I want to see more people die. But I don't know. Maybe maybe as characters, they're not the best then. What about Darnell? Did he stand apart from the boys?
I like Darnell a lot, actually. I thought actually Darnell was oddly enough of a sympathetic character for me. I thought that the whole sequence where he's alone in his garage and he sees Christine pull in and park by itself, and but before that he's kind of reflecting on his own past, and you find out that he was like in a play. It's the chapter 37, the Darnell cogitates.
Oh, where they talk
that was honestly my favorite section of the book, just because he
remembers like being in love and
he moved away.
Yeah, and it becomes like it becomes another parable of like, what happens when you just fall in the wrong hole, and for him, I actually kind of felt bad for him, in a way, in that King does a really good job sometimes of making sympathetic quote unquote villains, because I don't really see him so much as a villain, because he does actually try to help Arnie out a lot, and like
it's a reversal, because you think he's definitely going to be a villain when he is allowing Buddy to rip on him, but then he kicks Buddy out, and he becomes a sort of bad mentor to Arnie, I guess. I
couldn't really tell if like some of that was like Christine also influencing Darnell to be like allowing Arnie to like keep working on things and like helping Arnie in a way, but I couldn't really, I don't know. But.
Yeah, I think his whole like personality you know, and like there's that section right here for Darnell, and again it ties into the whole nostalgia of things. Like he talks about how, like, you know, he's sitting there and he's trying to sleep, and he goes into like thinking about like Jimmy Sykes, who drives him nuts, which I thought was really funny, because I think everyone at some point in their life has like one of those like really annoying people that are nice, but you can't really say anything about
Like,
it.
you're not allowed to be publicly mad at them.
Yeah, exactly. And like, so I thought that was pretty. But then he's like, he drifts over to it. He's like, on page 438 of the Pocketbooks edition, he says, gradually his mind turned into other channels. He thought of his own high school days when he had the lead part in the senior play. His part had been that of the minister who was driven to suicide by his lust for Sadie Thompson, the girl he had set out to save. He had brought down the house, his one moment of glory in high school career that had been devoid of sporting or academic triumphs, and maybe the high point of his youth. His father had been a drunk, his mother a drudge, his one brother a deadbeat, with his own moment of glory coming somewhere in Germany. His only applause the steady pounding of German 88s. He thought of his one girlfriend, a pallid blonde named Wanda Haskins, whose white cheeks had been splattered with freckles which grew painfully profuse in the August sun. They almost surely would have been married. Wanda was one of 4 girls that Will Darnell had actually fucked. He excluded Horace from his count. She was surely the only one he had ever loved, always assuming there was such a thing. And like the supernatural events he had sometimes heard about but never witnessed, he could doubt its existence but not disprove it. But her father had been in the army, and Wanda had been an army brat. At the age of 15, perhaps only a year before their mystic shift and balance of power from the hands of the old into those of the young, she and her family had moved to Wichita, and that had been the end of that. And that hit me more than anything else in the actual story, because it felt like that's where you're like, it's just the right type of subtlety to know that, like, that's probably what threw him over the edge. He had this glimpse of what could have been this great life that was moving to a momentum, and that was taken away, and he had to lean back onto his own lifestyle, where you saw that his parents are a bunch of, like, his parents and siblings are failures, and he just got trapped. And that
happens.
And it happens all the time. And honestly, there's enough nuance in that, just that glimmer of a passage, that I got more out of that than I did with like any of the other characters in the book. And for me, it made me actually care for him, so that when he actually is being like attacked in this house by the gremlin car, it really, you know, I don't know, it hit me in a weird way. And like, I actually really felt for Darnell, and I thought that all this stuff involving him was always the most interesting to me, except for the, you know, the whole like Thomas Wolfe bullshit thing that has to do with the FDA and all this other stuff. And I was like, what book is this coming from? But yeah, no, I really like Darnell a lot. So.
What about would you guys consider Petunia, the cockasucker, to be a character? Because I actually thought that was really funny.
Petunia,
I really like that.
The septic tank?
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything to say about Junkins?
I like him in the movie better, but
Yeah, I did too.
You just like Harry Dean Stanton.
I love Harry Dean Stanton, and you know why? Because of 2 words: Twin Peaks. He's great in Twin Peaks. But
hey, what about Alien? I love him in Alien.
Well, we were making jokes when we were doing the live tweet the other day. Like Mac and I were talking about how like we were going to use deleted scenes for Twin Peaks and Alien to explain that that's Junkins and certain things, and but you're going to replace the stuff that he's like being stalked by in those deleted scenes by Christine. So like there's like a deleted scene in Alien where his character is like he's like looking up at the chains and there's just water dripping down. But like in a deleted scene, you see the alien like hanging there. But we were gonna say like in this one, you'd see like Christine hanging by the chains, just like over.
All right. Well, Mike's lost control of the wheel, and so have I.
We're
in
going
fact, we
up.
drove straight into a cemetery.
Yeah.
What's the bottom of the truth?
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back. It may look like that person, but it ain't that person. Because whatever lives in the ground beyond that cemetery ain't human at all.
It's actually really hard to drive in a cemetery because
It
there's
is.
headstones everywhere.
It is.
I wish I had one of those like 2-person smart cars. That would make it a lot easier. But no, we're in a Plymouth Fury, everyone.
It's very wide.
Yeah.
The
I have
road is narrow.
desecrated several graves. It's bad.
Fun fact: a couple months ago, when the losers went to Evergreen Cemetery that's in Fort Lauderdale, this is where my brother's wedding was. We drove through there because Leslie Nielsen's buried, and you can actually see his photo of the grave in our Instagram. I was driving through there in a Camaro, not a Camaro, an Impala, and I was so worried that I was going to be hitting gravestones, and I was so I was like, we were like rushed for time, so I was like trying to get through really fast.
But you didn't.
I didn't, and we weren't haunted, and unfortunately, we weren't haunted by Leslie Nielsen because that would have been fun. But
Dracula Dead and Loving It. That's
I love Dracula Dead and Loving It.
I actually do. I like a lot of Leslie Nielsen.
I just like watching him. He's a nice guy. It's like if your grandpa was funny.
Yeah.
I do wish. I mean, we're on a cemetery tangent now. Sorry, but I do wish it was acceptable to like hang out and read in cemeteries. Like, I just feel so at peace and like.
I still do.
You do. You go to cemeteries and hang out.
Yeah, well, I lived right next to a cemetery my whole life, so like, I know that sounds like the beginning of like a creepy kid short story thing, but like, we had it where like the townhouse when you went to the end to like where you would take out the garbage, it would be at the road, and down at the end of the road there was like one more house, and then there was the cemetery right there, but the gates would be open all the time until like me and my friends filmed a movie there late at night, and then we got the gates closed, but you would just see this gaping like opening, and it was just pitch, and I used to just like throw out the garbage and then run back or something. But I would hang out there at the end of the day because it's fun. It's like kind of peaceful, especially when you hang out in like the kids section where all the kids it's depressing as hell. But
the kids section,
yeah,
I don't think that's what they call it.
Well, they would have like a section where like all the kids passed away and like
little angels or something.
Yeah, and like Mickey Mouse graves I thought were cool.
What? I've never seen this. I've been to several cemeteries.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like in every cemetery. I thought.
What?
Like, that's...
I thought they buried you with your family.
To be fair, like this cemetery also like sectioned it off where all the Jews would be. So that was I used to be offended by that.
No,
but
that's like a Jewish person's. They want that.
They want that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
That's why there's like full Jewish cemeteries.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like if you're not Jewish, you can't be buried there.
Oh, all right, interesting. So I guess I shouldn't have been offended.
It's the same thing with like if you're like a Jewish person, you have a tattoo, you can't be buried there either.
That's true. Yeah. So I'm not allowed to be there because I have like 5 tattoos. So sorry, Dad.
And none of them are the Star of David. They're all hold steadies. And,
they are. Yeah, they are.
They're all music tattoos.
They are.
Time to get those corrected so they are all Stars of David.
That is going to take some mighty fine ink.
All right, cemetery.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This book didn't really scare me that much.
It didn't. No.
All right, I'm gonna go and defend it for a minute. I know I've been ragging on Christine kind of hard, but I thought all those awesome car death sequences were like legit terrifying. Just the whole thing where like Christine, what would they call that thing where it was like the park? It was also like a toll thing that she ran Buddy Repperton into. What was that called? I can't remember now. You know what I'm talking about? It's like the scene where she kills like all 3 of them, and there's like a brick building. Yeah, like I guess wherever you would pay to go in the park.
Yeah.
I just love how brutal and relentless it is. Like it's not subtle at all, but just the fact that like Christine does not stop until you're dead. She'll run you over.
And he's crawling up on broken legs.
Well, even in that scene too, he's like apologizing to Christine, and then she starts like killing him even more, and he's like "fuck you" and like.
Yeah, I love it. It's so blunt, but I love like that made it really scary. It reminded me of there's like that Wu-Tang Clan sketch where they talk about all the ways they're going to torture each other, and Method Man's like, and I'm going to keep feeding you and feeding you and feeding you. Like that's like a reminder of like, man, Christine just like she's relentless. I thought that was pretty spooky. But you guys you were not scared by it like I was.
Not in a like deeply disturbed sense. It's scary. Like getting hit by a car is really scary. But I also feel like what would have been scary to me is if she left him with 2 broken legs and a ton of broken ribs and like. But you know that her end goal is just to obliterate him. Like
I did like that it talked about his ribs like puncturing his lung.
Yeah.
So like that, like he really went into some anatomical detail that really got under my skin. And I don't know, in the attack scenes I felt like, I mean, Mike said he does kind of go overboard with talking about how Christine's hood looks like an alligator's mouth or like a bear's maw or whatever, but Christine in those scenes really did become like a wild animal to me, and I thought that was kind of like there was a shift that always happened in my mind whenever he described her killing someone. So
like a downshift.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Going into
high gear.
High gear. Yeah. So so I don't know. They were brutal. They weren't scary in the way that like Salem's Lot is scary to me, but it was scary in like the relentlessness of it, and the fact that like Mike said, Christine just plows into this dude's house and just comes up the stairs. Like at a certain point, I'm like, man, how are they going to kill her? And they, spoiler alert, they kind of don't. But because she just was so unstoppable. So yeah, it's a bit of a spooky ride through the cemetery for me.
I will say, so I had page 240 on my edition, which is when Mooch gets killed.
Yeah.
I just had 2 sentences that I really liked, which was his shadow was no longer chasing him; it was leading him and getting longer. In the window of the dry cleaning shop, he saw great yellow eyes blossom. It wasn't even close. And she just gets him. And I feel like those moments of like, oh my God, I'm about to die. and then they die is like very scary.
Yeah, there are a lot of like table setting from like in this story that really hit me. Like I didn't actually think like the Buddy death was scary as it was like more cool, but like the realization that Buddy has, this like very macho guy, and then like King on page 411 of the Pocket Books edition, he goes, no houses up here. They were already on state land. Nothing up here but the high snow embankments and the dark interlacing of trees. And it's just like, oh my God, you're
alone.
fucked.
Yeah.
Like you are cut away from society.
No one is coming
gone.
down this road.
The same part with Mooch, like when he talks about how the car looked like a jack-o'-lantern underwater or something like that, like with like the snow.
That was good.
Like that description was really creepy. Like some of the descriptions are really cool, but it becomes so overbearing because it's like there's so much, and after a while,
it's a car. Like it's not like the sound plot. Seriously, like, it sounds like you're like, oh, how are they gonna? Oh, it's a vampire. How is he gonna describe that? A vampire is something I don't see, or even in Cujo, because the dog is becoming rabid, the dog is changing. But with Christine, you're like, oh no, it's a Plymouth Fury. It'll look like a Plymouth Fury. Maybe it's damaged a little bit, but that's like there's not a lot of reveal going on. The horror is very brutal as opposed to spooky or revealing like in some of his other books.
Well, like he does this really cool. Again, I think a lot of it's just how he uses the environment again for me. Like even on page 421, when it's in the same Buddy section actually, he goes, on the far verge of Squantic Lake, some 10 miles away as the crow flies, a young man who had gone out for a cross-country ski by starlight heard the sound and suddenly stopped, his hands on his poles and his head cocked. Abruptly, the skin on his back prickled into bumps as if a goose had just walked over his grave, and although he knew it was only a car somewhere on the other side, sound carried a long way up here on the still winter nights. His first thought was that something prehistoric had awakened and had tracked its prey to earth, a great wolf, or perhaps a saber-toothed tiger. The sound was not repeated, and he went on his way. That's like the way he ends the Buddy chapter, which is like so good. The fact that it's coming from someone else, his recognizing his sense of place sometimes can really help out with his scares. You don't have to show anything, you just allude to it. And I think that's always, for me, going to be the scariest parts.
Because I feel like even in a city as populous as Chicago, that's a thing that can sneak up on you and be very scary. Like I was walking to work the other day, and it was so early because I had to work at 7:30 on a Saturday. So I'm walking down the street at 6 a.m. in Lincoln Park, and there's no, like, I was like, okay, I could, like, legit get murdered.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one here.
I think those moments of isolation when you're not expecting them is, like, really scary to me.
I feel like King really, really knew that the car isn't going to be the most scary part of the book, and so what he tried to do was put decaying corpses in there a lot and like describe them in a lot of detail with a lot of bugs.
Oh yeah.
And it never really worked for me when it was LeBay, but there was one instance that did work for me at the very end of the book, and it's when they're about to run Christine down on 486. It says, I revved Petunia's engine and roared at her, and as that damned car from hell grew in the windshield, I saw the purple, swollen face of a child pressed to the rear window, watching me, seeming to beg me to stop. That was creepy to me.
Yeah.
Jocelyn, did anything scare you in this book?
I mean, I know you said that like the LeBay part like didn't scare you as much, but I feel like that part really freaked me out. I don't know. Just like when he's like sitting next to him, like Arnie sitting next to LeBay, driving Christine, and then he like sees him like transform into like this older version of Arnie that's also kind of like an Arnie LeBay hybrid thing that I don't know, that kind of like turned me a little bit. And also like when right when they pick up the hitchhiker, when Lee and Arnie are in the car, or like Arnie goes to like get the hamburgers or something, and she's like sitting in the car alone and being like, I'm trapped in this car. I don't
he
like.
could kill me.
Arnie's like way away, and he's doing this on purpose, and I'm in this car with a stranger I don't know, and like she describes him and like how he's like I don't know. It's just like being alone in a car with a stranger, like as a woman too, like in that time, it's like I kind of like get her fear a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And just her like, wow, he totally abandoned me with a stranger.
Yeah.
Like,
beyond like anything like grotesque or like anything like gruesome or like generally scary, like just as far as like being alone in the car with a stranger you don't know.
Yeah.
That no one really knows. It's just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah,
but then he saves you from choking, and you're like,
Yeah.
thanks, man.
Yeah. Like he ends up being fine, but like.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
I actually pictured that guy as Joe Keery, Steve Harrington of Stranger Things, the hitchhiker. Because the way to describe because he gets punched and then he has like his long black hair and he like seems like kind of clueless a little bit in the beginning and then he kind of knows what he's doing and like, and it was just.
Oh yeah, in the audiobook, like his part too was very like hippie. Like
Yeah.
he was very like stonery, like when they're reading him.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Hey man, it was funny too because the hitchhiker would keep talking too much, which I kind of liked. It was a nice character trait, and he was like, "Oh, I'm always saying things I shouldn't. I should just shut up now." Blah blah blah. And so, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. I could see Steve playing him for sure.
God, I had a section and I do not have any more. Caffrey, do you have any more?
Nah, that's it. I got some stuff for a word processor that I'll read, but just I like the brutality of those Christine attacks, and I can't wait till I use it as inspiration to go do my own attacks in my Ford Focus after this.
I guess it's scary that Jackson Browne came to town and nobody went to go.
Oh wait, it was. I wonder if I forgot about the Jackson Browne part. It was weird to me that that's like the concert all the greasers wanted to go to.
Yeah.
It was like Jackson. I'm a huge Jackson Browne fan, and I actually associate Jackson Browne a lot with Stephen King from growing up. Like, just I would hear it on the radio around the time my dad was reading a lot of his books. So I guess bullies are allowed to like whatever music they want, but it wasn't like, oh, we're going to the George Thorogood concert. It's like we're gonna go hear Rock Me on the Water at Jackson Browne. It's gonna be badass. Like it was just kind of it was a funny concert to which I'm sure Jackson Browne was actually coming to Pittsburgh or wherever around that time. Maybe that's why he included it. But for all the music that gets mentioned in that book, like all the rip roar and rock and roll, Jackson Browne is not what came to mind when I thought what Buddy Repperton would go to attend.
I did think, and not to harp too much on like the Darnell chapter, not harp, but celebrate the Darnell chapter too much, but the scene where he is alone in the garage and Christine does come back and you really do see like you just really do see firsthand, and it's not a dream sequence, it's not anything, like Christine operating on its own. On page 440, King writes, "No one got out of Christine because there was no one in her to get out." And then he talks, like he goes in inner monologue with Darnell again. He's like, he puts stuff like that in an open file because nothing really inexplicable had ever happened to him, except maybe something like that was happening now. And like that like sort of like inner monologue of knowing that like, oh shit, this is actually the thing I was just thinking about. Like, like, oh, I'm open to this type of stuff, and until it happens to me, and then I'll really start becoming a believer. And it's like, no, this is absolutely the thing that's happening.
Think about like, if this sort of stuff does happen in real life and it's someone like Will Darnell watching, like that's why nobody hears about it, because they're like, oh, that was weird, I don't want to think about it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I just thought that whole sequence was just paced brilliantly.
I always liked when she was in the dark of the garage and her engine was ticking as it cooled. I just kind of thought that was like a little nice touch.
Yeah, me too. That whole section, nothing really inexplicable until now. He had seen it. Nothing had been driving that car. It had come in empty, smelling of something like rotting turnips. And even then, in spite of his dread, Will's mind began to turn. He began wondering how he could put what he knew to his own advantage. And like, you're like, well, he's right back to the scumbag.
And that's Will.
Yeah, it's classic Will. But yeah, there aren't a lot of scary parts of this book for me. I really wasn't scared at all. I guess like, yeah, whatever.
It was suspenseful, and like there were gross parts for sure. I was grossed out.
Yeah.
Maybe gross is a better way to describe it, because like I said, even the stuff I liked a lot, it wasn't the same as The Stand or something like that, All
right, well, I've toppled over several graves, and I think it's time to take a break, sit down at the word processor of the god.
We're gonna make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. Whether you don't hear me typing, whether the fuck you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in.
I actually have a couple things here, and I think a lot of them have to do with the theme of growing up and seeing the people you love change, not often for the better. And it's always Dennis who's having these observations, and it's usually about Arnie's parents. So the first one I had was on page 23 when Regina starts freaking out about Arnie getting the car. And he says, "There are moments when adults disgust you in ways they would never understand. I believe that, you know. I had one of those moments then, and it only made me feel worse. When Regina shouted at her husband, I saw her as both vulgar and scared, and because I loved her, I had never wanted to see her either way." And I feel like we all have that moment with, like, our parents or someone else's parents where you're like, oh no, I'm seeing you in weakness, and that doesn't endear you to me.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't like it. I don't like that I saw this.
Well, it's just like, yeah, it is that like reminder that like there aren't superheroes, like they're infallible, and like, you know,
Or like you can't
or they're
even
not
take the
infallible.
weakness as like, yes, we're all human. It's more
Yeah.
just like, why did you fucking do that?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like disappointment instead of just a learning lesson or
Yeah.
something. But yeah, I had a kind of did you have another one that you wanted to go
No,
over?
go.
Or-
We'll alternate.
Yeah, because I had a similar situation that had to do with like more like the coming of age thing, and it's when Dennis is kind of looking around they're in Gino. He's talking about Gino's, and which was run by a wonderful Italian fellow named Pat Donahue, which is hilarious. But at the end of
you can tell
101,
King thinks that's so funny.
oh, I know. He's
Like,
probably just laughing his ass off, like, you know, and, you know, squeezing his corgi. He goes, people came in and went out, a lot of them kids from school. Before long, I'd be seeing them in the halls again, and I felt a recurrence of that fierce nostalgia and advance, and that sense of fright. In my head, I could hear the homeroom bell going off, but somehow its long bray sounded like an alarm. Here we go again, Dennis. Last time after this year, you got to learn how to be a grown-up. I could hear locker doors crashing closed, could hear the steady ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk of live men hitting the tackling dummies, could hear Marty Bellerman yelling exuberantly, my ass in your face, Pedersen. Remember that. My ass in your face. It's easier to tell the fucking Bobbsey twins apart. The dry smell of chalk dust in the classrooms in the math wing, the sound of the typewriters from the big secretarial classrooms on the second floor, Mr. Meacham, the principal, giving the announcements at the end of the day in his dry, fussy voice, lunch outdoors in the bleachers in good weather, a new crop of freshmen looking dorky and lost, and at the end of it all, you march down the aisle in this big purple bathrobe, and that's it. High school's over. You're released on an unsuspecting world. And it's like such a good section right there. And like, and I love that idea of like nostalgia in advance. And that's kind of been my pitfall is I sometimes never can enjoy the moment sometimes because I'm always thinking about it being over. You know, we were before the podcast today, we were talking about like long distance stuff and everything. And I think that's like such a big thing when you feel like you're on borrowed time.
Yeah.
And you're
like
constantly
having a relationship long distance.
Yeah, like having a relationship long distance, and like the idea of like when that happens and you do meet up and you're hanging out and you're being together, you are on this borrowed time,
And it's always looming.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's awful.
And then I like for me it's like I always play the week game where it's like, oh, a week ago I was doing this, or a month ago I was doing this at this day, or like and then I in hindsight I wonder, it's like, did I actually like even just soak up that moment, or was I so worried that it was going to end? And I don't know, I just thought that sequence nails that. Like,
do you ever do the
perfection.
opposite though? Like I find that helps me when I'm about to do something I get dread.
Yeah.
Like you're like, well, a week from now I'll remember this exact moment and it'll be done. And then a week from now you'll do that and you'll be like, yes, I did it.
Yes, no, absolutely. That actually got me through like grad school for the most part. Because like most of the time, it's like once you actually think about the next thing you're going to do, it's already going to happen. Like that's how I always feel. Like I feel like if I'm, you know, I'm anticipating something so much that, and I think about like what I have to do the next day or the day after, then I'm already at that thing the next day because time goes by so fast. And
I would think about it in a similar way when I had to write a paper in college that I knew I didn't want to write. Like I would just think to myself, you've never not turned in a paper. Like, you know you're going to write this paper.
Yeah.
It's 100% going to happen. And that's as good as it already having happened. So just fucking do it, you baby.
Yeah.
I actually, the passages I liked were also sort of having more to do with high school and life in general than, you know, anything horrific. The one I like, I think someone said before, it is sort of maybe uncharacteristic that Dennis would have so many keen observations as a high schooler, but I did enjoy them nonetheless. One of them I wrote was high school society is very conservative, you know, no big
like
lecture, but it is.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry. The girls all wear the latest nutty fashions. The boys sometimes wear their hair most of the way down to their assholes. Everyone is smoking a little dope or sniffing a little coke. But all of that is just the outward patina, the defense you put up while you try and figure out exactly what's happening with your life. It's like a mirror what you use to reflect sunlight back into the eyes of teachers and parents, hoping to confuse them before they can confuse you even more than you already are. At heart, most high school kids are about as funky as a bunch of Republican bankers at a church social. And I thought that was so accurate because, like, in high school, you're trying to be such a rebel, but, like, you're so lame in high school, really. I mean, like, anything that disrupts your normal way of life, you're usually pretty averse to. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I like, he goes on to say, like, all these girls might have listened to every Black Sabbath album, but if Ozzy Osbourne actually asked them on a date, they would be, like, terrified.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that.
That just, like, rang true to me. So, yeah, like I said, it has a little to do with the book itself, but, yeah, it really resonated with me.
I feel like I'm going to just keep coming back to this theme, but on page 54, Dennis says, Arnie cringed. He was my friend, but I hated him when he cringed that way. I just love, I bask in vicarious embarrassment for other people. Like, I think it's one of the strongest emotions you can feel, and it, like, ruins relationships. Like, I've definitely dated some guys that I could no longer date because, like, they weren't good at an instrument they thought they were good at, and I couldn't handle the vicarious embarrassment.
Yeah.
Like, it was so much emotional labor on my part, and I don't know, like, that is one of, and it's why I can't watch cringe comedies. But I that's so strong to me. Do you recall any parts that you thought were, like, really good?
Yeah, I mean, like, just kind of the stuff that you're talking about, like, with the nostalgia and everything, like, with high school, and, like, especially, like, your point about, like, the seeing other people do something, like, kind of cringy, and you're just like, well, it could be done this other way, but it's gonna not be, so I guess have to let it.
I guess
slide.
we're all here.
Yep.
I got one on page 62. He goes, by the time I had mounted the tire back in the trunk and had paid the guy $2 for the job, the early evening light had become the fading purple of late evening. The shadow of each bush was long and velvety, and as I cruised slowly back up the street, I saw the day's last light streaming almost horizontally through the trash-littered space between the Arby's and the bowling alley. That light, so much flooding gold, was nearly terrible in its strange, unexpected beauty. I was surprised by a choking panic that climbed up in my throat like dry fire. It was the first time a feeling like that came over me that year, that long, strange year, but not the last. Yet it's hard for me to explain or even define. It had something to do with realizing that it was August 11th, 1978, that I was going to be a senior in high school next month, and that when school started again, it meant the end of a long, quiet phase in my life. I was getting ready to be a grown-up, and I saw that saw it for sure, for the first time in that lovely but somehow ancient spill of golden light flooding down the alleyway between the bowling alley and a roast beef joint. And I think I understood that then, that what really scares people about growing up is that you stop trying on a life mask and start trying on another one. If being a kid is about learning how to live, then being a grown-up is about learning how to die. And that's like, that summarizes the entire book right there. And that's like in page 62.
I had a similar one from Dennis on 107 when he says, no, I was 17 years old, bound for college in another year, and I didn't believe in such things as curses and emotions that linger and grow rancid, the spilled milk of dreams. I would not have granted you the power of the past to reach out horrid dead hands toward the living, but I'm a little older now.
Yeah, that's great.
Learning how to die.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the book. It's just, it's all about this feeling of,
It's I don't know if it's pessimistic or not. There's a quote from George LeBay when he's talking to Dennis, and he says, the poets continually and sometimes willfully mistake love. Love is the old slaughterer. Love is not blind. Love is a cannibal with extremely acute vision. Love is insectile. It is always hungry. And Dennis goes, what does it eat? And he says, it eats friendship. And I'm like, Jesus Christ! Are we supposed to believe that?
There are a lot of interesting takeaways from every character, almost. Honestly, that's actually kind of baffling to me. Like, when there's like a chapter for Regina and Michael, it's like chapter 32, and it's actually when they talk about how Michael feels that like Regina's using his penis as a sleeping pill, but which is, I guess, a preview to Pound Cake. But he basically is kind of wrestling with the idea that his boy he couldn't commit murder more than he could walk on water, and he's kind of sitting there in the middle of the night just thinking, And King writes, the mind monkey was satisfied. Michael rolled over on his right side, slept, and dreamed that he and his 9-year-old son were playing miniature golf on an endless series of small astroturf greens where windmills turned and tiny water hazards lay in wait. And he dreamed that they were alone, all alone in the world, because his son's mother had died in childbirth, very sad. People still remarked on how inconsolable Michael had been. But when they went home, he and his son, the house would be theirs alone. They would eat spaghetti right from the pot like a couple of bachelor slobs. And when the dishes were washed, they would sit at a kitchen table hidden beneath spread newspapers and build model cars with harmless plastic engines. In his sleep, Michael Cunningham smiled. Beside him, in the other bed, Regina did not. And it's like, really? But like that whole like, just those images like kind of hit hard because it's like I think back of like all the times, the little moments I've had with my dad, and like I do wonder sometimes if he ever had that feeling of like, oh, I wonder it would have been easier sometimes if it was just me and him, or, you know, vice versa, if my mom ever thought that too. And I thought that was kind of like an honest sort of quasi confession from Michael in that. I don't know, but obviously it's not coming from him, it's coming from King. And
There's a great moment when Dennis talks to his dad.
Yeah.
And maybe some of you included this in Pound Cake, but they have this weird moment of communication where he sees him as like a person, and he's like, I think in that moment I could have imagined my parents making love and like not been grossed out by it, like, and been fine with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's kind of sweet.
Yeah, it is a little sweet. Yeah, because they're human beings. Also, it doesn't mean that they can't go to the bone zone once in a while. But Dan, do you have any more? Or you're good?
No, man, I want to move on to some Pound Cake. I'm real hungry, and I just want to eat.
We're going through the drive-thru.
All right, let's do it.
After all you've been taught, everyone isn't bad, Mama. Everything isn't a sin.
Come to your closet and pray. Ask to be forgiven.
He's a nice boy, Mom. You like him. You really like him, Mama.
All right, who wants to kick off?
I've got one. Well, it's kind of a minor one. It's only a couple lines. So, but I think, in my opinion, I think it's the best instance of Pound Cake in the book, if you guys don't mind. And I would actually redub it Fruitcake because it has to do with Christmas. So here it goes. All right. It's toward the end of the book. Let's see. All right, this is talk about Christine driving by the various houses. She reached the top of Liberty Heights and headed down the far side, at first through black woods cut only by the white ribbon that marked the road. That's good. Then past the suburban houses with their cozy living room lights and, in some cases, their cheery trim of Christmas lights. In one of these houses, a young man who had just finished playing Santa and who was having a drink with his wife to celebrate happened to glance out and see headlights passing by. He pointed it out to her. If that guy came over the heights tonight, this young man said with a grin, he must have had the devil riding shotgun. Never mind that, she said. Now that the kids are taken care of, what do I get from Santa? He grinned. We'll think of something.
That is the best part of Pound Cake.
It's just so weird because, like, why feature these two people at all? Like, they have nothing to do with the rest of the book. Like, it was just like, it made me laugh out loud when I discovered that. And also, too, this is at the very end, so it's right before the climax after Christine's killed all these people. It's like, oh, let's check in on this like young suburban couple who are going to the Bone Zone.
Yeah, that was probably like the best slice of Pound Cake there.
That's my favorite.
There are some other
what do you guys
choice
have?
ones.
There's a lot of boob talk. I feel like I just wrote like the little phrases like blooming chests, and I don't know. That's just classic. The Pound Cake in here is not exciting because it's so classic.
Yeah, yeah. I have one that was from my boy Will Darnell. King writes on 438. There was a certain lipstick she had worn. He's alluding to Wanda, and in that long ago summer of 1934, it had tasted like fresh raspberries to Will Darnell, who was still quite slim and clear-eyed and ambitious and young. And here we go. It had been a taste to make the left hand stray to the erect and enthusiastic root of the penis in the middle of the night. And even before Wanda Haskins consented, they had danced that sweet and special dance in Will Darnell's dreams.
That's not weird.
Make the left hand stray to the erect and enthusiastic root of the penis. Anyway. Just getting very. You don't even have to like go that like the description of that. You could have just been like, it's enough for me to get a little excited during the middle of the night. But like the root of
but
the.
But how exactly do you get excited?
Did he go forward into the head portion? No, it's just like, I mean, like how much more detail you want to go into this, King?
I thought it was really funny there's like a long Pound Cake where Arnie and Lee are making out at the drive-in. But there's one part of it where he says he kissed her and her mouth opened wide, her tongue was there, like obviously, and the kiss was like inhaling the clean aroma / taste of a rainforest. Like why aroma / just say aroma and taste.
Yeah.
Like what is that?
It's ridiculous.
Gotta love that rainforest mouth.
Hey, when I go to Rainforest Cafe, that's usually what I'm thinking about too. Let's see.
Mackin'.
Yeah, I'm macking. There was one where Darnell starts talking about like somebody took an X. He's like, "Oh yeah, they must have had a bunch of X-Lax and like shit all over your dashboard or something." It's just like the way it's like spread their legs and shit all over the dashboard.
That was such a weird part because he keeps it from you when it happens as if it's going to be this horrible, horrible thing.
Yeah.
Like, and look what they did. Oh no! And then it comes out later that they shit on the dashboard, and you're like,
Yeah.
"That's it? That's the like terrible, terrible thing." Like,
I mean-
okay, it's gross.
For me, that would be worse. Like I would rather have like mutilated limbs and like a severed head on my dashboard than like a bunch
an
of
ounce
shit.
of human
I
shit.
can't handle that. No. Yeah. Anyone else got some other ones?
Well, if we want to start talking about the sexism of the book, I've got a couple things. On 119, this just drove me crazy. It's Michael thinking about Arnie, talking to Dennis, and he says, "I know a car is important to a kid Arnie's age. Regina can't see that quite so clearly. She always got picked up. She was never faced with the problems of being the picker-upper."
Oh yeah, that part like
Shut the fuck up. Like, yeah, oh, it's such a like, your life is so hard that you have to be the one driving to get the woman. Like, oh, women don't understand. On 120, like a page later, this was very interesting to me because I thought it was going to be the beginning of some introspection about this concept. He says they're at Darnell's garage. Inside, the world was full of the echoey, evocative bang of tools and the sound of men working on cars and hollering profanity at the rolling iron they were working on. Always the profanity and always female in gender. "Come off of there, you bitch. Come loose, you cunt. Come on over here, Rick, and help me get this twat off." I was like, yeah, good observation. Like, follow through here. And it was like, no, I just wanted to say the words.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I have one that's kind of goes into his obsession with talking about fat people.
yeah, he loves that.
Which he loves doing.
Yeah.
This is great. Classic King. This is early on. This is page 57. When Christine initially breaks down. "I pulled in behind him, Dennis, and had no more than gotten out when a young woman waddled down toward us from her house, skirting a pretty good collection of plastic fantastic that was planted on her lawn. Two pink flamingos, 4 or 5 little stone ducks in a line behind a big stone mother duck, and a really good plastic wishing well with plastic flowers planted in the plastic bucket. She was in dire need of Weight Watchers." And then later on 58, "I backed my duster up. She watched, then joggled back up to her house,
Made up a word.
where a little boy and a little girl were crammed in the doorway. They were pretty porky too. Each of them was eating a nice, nourishing devil dog, just
King
staring
should
off."
have to, like, live life as a fat person for a month because
Well, he was for when he was younger, though. I
Really?
mean, if you look at his older photos, he's definitely like. I mean, not so much here, but like in the early '70s, kind of had. He wasn't like totally thin. I mean, like the early ones were like. He has like a photo of him at the typewriter. He's not like thin or anything.
I don't know.
When he got hit by that car or that
he was a
van,
really
he definitely
obese,
lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, he was definitely thinner.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thinner.
He was Richard Bachman's thinner.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
On 151, he says, concerning Lee, "She could have been a bitch or mentally fast asleep. It seems to me that a lot of really beautiful girls are one or the other, but she was neither."
Oh, he calls one a marginally retarded girl behind the at the drive-in, I think.
Like, I don't know, like, I feel like King just can't write about male relationships without highlighting the fact that they require objectification of women. Like, they just never think about them as full people at all. Even Lee, like, it's just always like how beautiful she is.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much like that's what leads in all the female characters for sure. I mean that's kind of how it's been since. I don't think he does it so much with. Well, no, Carrie he does it for sure also, but not as.
I can't remember that well. On 426, he directly compares Lee to a car, saying that her body is still under warranty.
Was that Dennis doing it or Arnie?
Dennis.
Okay.
It's that scene actually really creeped me out because I think it's the same one where he talks about their future. Like if Arnie forces Lee to marry him, and then their wedding night, like Christine's going to be waiting outside the hotel room, and she's going to be like trapped under LeBay. Like that was actually a really scary scene. But comparing women to cars is not cool, even though that's almost the entire basis of the book, even though the car isn't really a woman, it's an old man. Anyway.
Oh, by the way, I also forgot to put in the cemetery another sandwich they eat is brown sugar sandwiches.
Actually sounds great, but it's not a sandwich.
Yeah,
I
that
still
seems
feel like
weird.
The mustard one still sounds way worse.
Mustard's the worst. Mustard is the worst. But what are these kids eating? And does nobody
and white
have?
bread?
There's like no diet in this town. There's pizza.
Yeah, that's nutritionally void. Of
Yeah,
anything.
Well, I mean,
you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It
just
sounds
weird.
like this town doesn't really have much education anyway, and like
The reason I get so upset about this stuff, I feel like, is because I really love Stephen King, and I feel like when he writes this way about women, it's supposed to be this like fun nod to his readers, which he assumes are male, and like mostly reading this and totally agreeing with him, and being like, yeah, that happened to me with my sister, or like, yeah, I remember being a high schooler and thinking that way. Like, it's just disheartening to realize over and over again that he did not think about writing for women. And I feel like he's gotten it better.
Oh yeah, much
And,
better. I mean, like,
I feel like Cujo was a good example of how to do it a lot better than this. So it's not like he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But that's why it pisses me off.
even after like watching like the movie and stuff, I was like, I like showed my fiance the movie, which he had no idea anything about Christine whatsoever going into it, and he was just like blown away about how much like sexism and racism was just kind of like strewn throughout it, and it was just kind of like common.
And homophobia.
And homophobia, and it was just very like oh, that's just how it is. Like.
yeah. I mean, it's just the changing. It's like the times. I mean, it's like the you know, to quote Harry Styles, the sign of the times. That's why things change. I mean, like we were
just saying he was capable of being better.
Yeah, that's true. So
Come on,
with
bro.
Carrie, yeah. But I think more of like in line just with the movie itself, though. I think
Oh.
that there's certain motifs in like film that have definitely changed drastically, even over 5 to 10 years over the past. But
Well, I'm angling my side view mirrors here to just really broaden the scope of what we can see, and maybe there's more connections to other highways. It's King's Dominion. That's what I'm getting at here.
There's another world out there. I know there is.
this is an interesting one because honestly, the biggest connections are probably more to do with George Romero than anything else in King's work.
I didn't even notice that stuff that you were talking about earlier. That's really interesting. And
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, is there a whole zombie angle to this that we haven't talked about?
I mean, think about all of the descriptions for LeBay.
Yeah.
Horlicks University is actually the same university from Creepshow, which was directed by George Romero and Stephen King worked together.
Nice.
I mean, it's not that long ago that we just did Creepshow, so I mean, it was only like maybe a year or two removed from this at this point. Like, and then the whole Monroeville Mall, the fact that they keep going back to that is the setting for Dawn of the Dead. I'm sure there are like a million little different like even tinier Easter eggs at that point, but that was, I mean, like the fact that he like references the ice skating rink seems pretty big and pivotal there. The fact that this is like probably the most genre-y of all his stories so far, I feel.
Do you think there's something to like, Dawn of the Dead is you go to the mall because it's what you know, and like you're stuck there in this sort of
totally
nostalgic.
Yeah, I think there is a part of that. Like it's the comforts, and it's like the obsession, and it's like the mindless consumerism. I mean, because for the sense, like, in some respects, like consumerism is a lot of the times tied to vanity. You really want to have like certain things and products because you want to look more, you want to be better or holier than thou or better than those around you. And I feel like there's a tie to that with Christine for sure. So I think even just thematically, maybe he's trying to do some more commentary. Because like that's all like Romero is for the most part, is just using the horror genre as a medium or a vessel for all his commentary. And I think King kind of tries to do that, but I think he's got his foot in too many doors.
Was that Hank, Dan?
What? Just that? There's a dog barking outside. I don't think it's Hank though. I'm trying to listen to him. It's Cujo. It's Cujo.
Oh my God! And he's like, oh no.
I'll go check in a minute. Yeah, because he's been quiet the whole time. I mean, there's definitely the Romero connection, and he dedicates the book to George Romero, and just being near Pittsburgh. And he did this too with Eyes of the Dragon. It's weird that Roland LeBay is named Roland, because then Eyes of the Dragon, King, who is also kind of a despicable character, is also named Roland, and it's weird to me that they share the name with who's arguably his most like famous hero, like I don't know. I just always wondered why King does use the name Roland so much.
Yeah, it's odd, and like there's even a mention of two gunslingers towards the end of the book. He talks that they were like he describes, I think, like Arnie and Dennis when they're together.
Yes,
They're
like
like
two
two gunslingers in a standoff. And it wasn't very long after he did, the gunslinger. So
I think we this came up like a little bit ago in a talk we were just having, but there's a greaser who's wearing a beret that says "Kill 'em all" and like God sort 'em out.
I love that
on page 120, which is a line from Needful Things, the movie,
which we use religiously.
Yeah. But have you guys actually looked up the origins of that phrase? Because it's very interesting.
Really?
Yes. Because I thought when we had made this connection, I was like, the odds of him just using that phrase are like no way. Like either he took it from Christine or it has some sort of universal application that I don't know about, and it does.
Yeah.
So it's actually in Latin. I'm gonna butcher this. Caedite eos novit enim dominis qui sunt eos, and it was
pretty good.
It was spoken by a papal legate prior to a big massacre. In history, the first military action of the Albigensian Crusade, which was basically like a group of Catholics split from the church, and they couldn't tell the difference between who was following this new religion and who was still a Catholic, like who's a Catholic and who's a heretic. So this papal guy was like, kill them all, let God sort them out. He didn't care that some of them were innocent, innocent, quote, Catholics. The direct translation is, kill them for the Lord knows those that are his own. But it was adopted by members of the U.S. military in various conflicts, such as the Vietnam War, and is used as an official slogan by certain units, which is really dark and gross.
Yeah, that's interesting. That takes on a whole new meaning, and it's really creepy and chilling. Yeah, honestly, like other than, Christine obviously pops up in 11/22/63.
I didn't know that.
Kind of subtly, like it's alluded that it's Christine, but it's because he gets a car that's very similar, and I think it's not really like actually Christine, I don't think, but it's kind of hinted like, oh look, anytime you mention a Plymouth Fury or something,
like,
it's always going to be like kind of something there. But yeah, I feel like this is actually surprising, like one of his more singular stories, kind of like Carrie,
Yeah.
And maybe it's because it's set in Pittsburgh and or the Pittsburgh land area. Like it might just, it's its own little thing. I do feel like this story could easily branch out into other things for sure. Like, I think like he still has the opportunity to go back.
It could have been a Castle Rock story. Like,
easily.
Yeah.
I actually kind of wish it was a Castle Rock story in a way. Like, I kind of like the idea that he did this whole separate...
Maybe after Cujo, though, people are like, oh, and now a car? Like,
yeah, that's true. Actually, it might be a little too much if it was in Castle Rock. He did, in the same interview, they did ask him if he would do a Christine too, with the car coming back across the country. King wrote, God, I don't want to go back through that again. Once was enough. All I can think of would be if the parts are recycled, you'd end up with this sort of homicidal cuisine art or something like that. That would be kind of nice.
That would be kind of nice.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, anyway. I don't really need to see any more Christine. I like the idea that like they already did kind of a Christine 2 at the end of the epilogue of this story.
Sure.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
You kind of already get like that he's going to... Here's the thing with King, and Mel has heard me say this, I think at least 3 times this week, is that anytime anything is even remotely inferred in a Stephen King book, it's fact. Like that's just how you have to take it sometimes with
we
that.
had disagreements over Cujo around this, though.
Yeah.
Like he thought that there was nothing in the closet. I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, "There's 100% something in the closet."
Yeah, exactly. Because because honestly, because then you see then the father actually starts seeing it too. Mm-hmm. So it's like once you start having these like second confirmations, it's I don't know, it works really, like when it works really well for him, it works great. But then most of the time it could be just like, okay. And that the ending for this for me was just like, I've heard of these things and I've heard of that, and it's just like, no,
just own it. She's back.
Yeah, you might as well just say it at this point, like But I do like how he did it. It's kind of cool. But yeah, I don't need a Christine too. Actually, keep her as a cube.
Yeah. I thought there was a King's Dominion on 241 where it says a tenth of a mile later, the dead light became a headlight again.
Ooh.
Oh, dead lights, yeah.
That's not like a car term, right? Like you don't call it a dead light with no space between dead and light. No?
I'm not sure actually.
Yeah, I don't know.
We maybe have to look that up.
And then there's the 19th of January.
Yes. Well, which is interesting because this episode is actually airing on the 19th of January.
And what are the odds of that? That's crazy.
Yeah, we didn't plan that. That just happened. So maybe we are going to be stalked by Christine next. And it's going to be just like, Final
That's the day
Destination.
they go after her. By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
all I got for King's Dominion. Anyone else?
I had I don't know. I don't know if this is like a King's Dominion or thing or not, but I kept thinking about in Nightmares and Dreamscapes, a short story called Dolan's Cadillac.
Oh yeah.
And I kept thinking about that and how it was kind of like the anti-Christine, where it's like instead of Roland, it's Dolan, and it's about this black car that's a Cadillac that's like a classic like car that people want, and him burying it and trying to destroy this car and his feelings about this car. And so it kind of made me think of like the opposite, and like almost like Christine in the future, how it's changed. Christine has changed into now this like black Cadillac and is like being buried, and like this guy like killing this car.
It's almost like an inverse of the thing. I think the Dolan's Cadillac is absolutely apt. I think that the From a Buick 8 is another one that you can kind of connect a little bit with this in the sense that it's the same
Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive. Sure. Yeah. I mean, like, I think there's, who's to say that like it didn't come from that universe or something like that? Who's to say? Until he writes some sort of line that alludes to it.
Dad, can we go now?
You ready?
Yeah, we've been ready for an hour.
Okay, I'll be right there.
You said that a half hour ago. Yeah, my dad's weird. He gets like that when he's writing.
All right, let's just share our overall thoughts on the book, Christine. Dan, do you want to go first?
Sure. I feel like we ragged on this book a lot, which I think is good because I think it's very revered in the King canon. So I'm glad we took it down a peg or two. That being said, like I said, I like the brutality of it. I think there's a good book within it. Like, I think if you cut out about 200 pages, you can make it a really stripped down, lean, mean, custom machine. I like the music element of it. So I feel like this won't reflect what I've been saying about it, but I'm going to go ahead and give it 3 bright red Pennywise clown noses. If it were a lot shorter and it took out and they clarified the mythology of Christine a little bit more, I would probably give it 4.
All right. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, I sort of agree. I'm going to go back to my Whiplash comment. I just feel like there were moments I really enjoyed and tapped into and rode along with, and then it would stall, and I would feel like I wasn't going anywhere, and I wanted to just get past what was happening. So that experience kind of, I don't know, dampened it for me. But that said, the parts that I did enjoy, I enjoyed a lot. Oh, geez. I think I have to go 2.5. Bright red Pennywise clown nose. I think I give Firestarter 1 or 2, and it was definitely better than Firestarter for me.
Yeah, I liked it better than Firestarter also. So that's why.
Yeah, I definitely liked it better than Firestarter.
So yeah, that's what I got.
That's what you got?
That's what I got. Jocelyn?
Yeah, it was just really hard to get through, and like, mind you, I was also listening to the audiobook like while I was like reading it and going through it, and so that kind of helped, like having like someone narrate the characters. But I do think, like, especially, like, getting towards the middle, and there's some, like, I'm just, like, I can't wait till Christine kills someone, and it just takes a long time, and I don't know, I'd probably say 2 as well, 2. But
yeah.
Pennywise noses?
Yeah, I'm right there, too. I would go with 2 bright red Pennywise clown noses. I thought... White red. I thought that, like I said before, I think the structure and format really throws this off. I think that this is a book of many great ideas. It's kind of like the Star Wars: The Last Jedi for me. A lot of great ideas that poorly parsed together. I thought it needs to be just a little assembled a little stronger, and it could have been a tighter story. I think there's a lean, excellent 350, 400 page book here that is strictly from Dennis's point of view, or it's we're in King's comfort zone. Just keep it all third person, and I think that you get rid of a lot of the Roland de Bay stuff and get right into just the evil car. Lean on that and use the LeBay as just a cautionary tale as opposed to making it this sort of weird mythos that doesn't ever go anywhere. And you make it a simple book. But having said that, the themes and what we can take away and what we've been able to unpack today, specifically with regards to like nostalgia and growing up and the pains of being pure at heart, is there's enough there that gets this car out of the lot. So with that, I just go with 2. So I think that's so. I gave 2, you gave 2, you were 2.5, and then
Dan was 3.
Dan was 3.
I can't believe that was the highest, man. I feel like I always rate too high. I always go too high.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think that's like a 2.5 almost though. 2.25.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah. So
see, my engine's got 2.5 hertz of horsepower. Or I don't know anything about cars.
One constant listener requested that we start kind of putting this all into a database. And
our ratings.
Yeah, our ratings. And I think we're going to start doing that. So we're going to have to go back to all the old episodes and figure out what they all were. But Dan, you got to leave. As you head out, we are heading to, I think, the drive-in ourselves, actually.
Yeah. So Dan, tuck and roll. Just
all right,
the door, 'cause I'm not slowing down.
Yeah.
I know I won't be here for the movie conversation because I haven't watched this recently, but I like the movie better than the book. I'll say that much.
Oh,
so.
interesting.
Okay. Well,
All
right.
with Dan gone, there's room for John Carpenter in the car,
All
and
right.
I think I see him coming up.
Whoa!
Oh, my God.
All right, I'll see you guys.
Okay.
Don't worry, Mom. I know all about cannibalism. I saw it on TV.
See? It's okay. You saw it on the television.
She is seductive. She is passionate. She is possessive. She is pure evil. She is Christine, a 1958 Plymouth Fury, possessed by hell. Her previous owner is not alive to warn her present one. Once she lures you behind the wheel, you will be hers, body and soul. There is no place you can hide, no place you can run, and nothing you can do can stop her. Because how do you kill something that can't possibly be alive? Christine. Body by Plymouth. Soul by Satan.
So we mentioned earlier that the movie actually came out about 8 months after the book. John Carpenter directed, did the music. Music's great.
Yeah, music's my favorite part of the movie, actually.
This was the first movie we live tweeted. So if you want, I think the group is still there. You can search the hashtag ChristineLC, LC for Losers Club, and see our conversation. It was the first time I had seen it. Had you guys seen the movie before?
I had grown up to this film. I'm a huge John Carpenter fan, so this is one of the earliest John Carpenter films I watched because it was associated with Stephen King, and I was like, oh my God, I have to see this one. I think it might have been like the third John Carpenter movie I watched after Assault on Precinct 13 and Halloween. And it was also like, it's like a staple on like TBS and TNT or USA Network. Like they would always play this movie. And they still do on AMC a shitload. I think IFC actually has been playing it a ton. It's a total TV staple. So when we watched it actually on an actual copy, a digital copy, it was a rated R version. I think that might have been like the first time, maybe since I first rented it at Blockbuster as a kid, that I had seen it in years. But so I was very familiar with it. What about you, Jocelyn?
Yeah, even before reading the book, I'm pretty sure I watched the movie, and then like I might have delved into the book as a kid, but I watched the movie like a couple days ago, and that was pretty. I don't think I watched the rated R version though, but I did watch what it was. I agree with the music though. The music is solid on it.
Which is interesting because like Carpenter says that this film was more of a job. Like it wasn't like he wasn't originally he wasn't planning on directing this because he had just done The Thing, and it kind of led to all this like critical backlash and done poorly at the box office, which is ridiculous because The Thing
ridiculous.
is like probably his best movie, and I actually think it's one of the greatest science fiction films of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And Carpenter, when he read Christine, actually had similar thoughts. He said it just wasn't very frightening, but it was something I needed to do at the time of my career because he needed a comeback. He needed a big hit. And sadly, this also wasn't a hit for him. And it's called John Carpenter's Christine, not Stephen King's Christine, which is funny because, like, given the cultural cachet that King had at the time, you'd think that the producers would have been like, no.
Yeah.
But they went.
Well, if they thought it was going to be a hit, maybe they were like, put his name on it.
Yeah. So like, I mean, interestingly enough, is producer Richard Kobritz. He had actually produced the miniseries for Salem's Lot, which is only a couple years, or 3 years, or 4 or 5 years beforehand. And he became really friendly with King, and King had sent him like the manuscripts for Cujo and Christine, and Kobritz was really attracted to the idea that this was like a celebration of Americans, the Americans' obsession with like the motor car or whatever. And so clearly John Carpenter came in and treated this as a studio job, which is funny because like around this time he like, you know, was also doing like Starman, which actually became one of his like most critically successful films. And it's for me watching this it's interesting knowing that like this feels like a John Carpenter movie, like, and this feels
like a John Carpenter vehicle.
Yeah. And just the way that it's so very Carpenter-esque, because like Carpenter's very big on having like closed locations. Like in Halloween, it's just the neighborhood, that those 2 houses. The Thing, it's the base. Assault on Precinct 13, it's the precinct. Even with something like Escape from New York, it's confined to just that city or whatever. With Christine, it's like, it's interesting because like it is the small town, but it really is like a lot of the movie takes place at the garage. Like I was like, it seems like the action really is kind of condensed to the garage as opposed to like the Pittsburgh area or something like that.
Yeah, it really seems like despite everything, like I read that he didn't want to use the footage of Christine repairing herself, which is some of like the best footage in the movie.
Which is crazy.
And that's so Carpenter. Like, but then it's like despite himself, he like put it back in. Like he made it into a Carpenter film, even though it was a job for him.
Yeah.
And like how they did that stuff too. I was reading it's like all plastic. It's like a plastic replica of the car, and then they damaged it with like hydraulics and like moving it back and forth, and then they would reverse the film.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's how they did all the like redoing of Christine.
It looks great.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks
like,
really, really good.
Because the practical effects of that are so awesome.
Well, it's also like in a time where it's like they're not going to be doing a lot of like post, like it's all like real.
Yeah.
Like real graphics. You have to like make these things, and it has to be tangible, and it has to look real.
They used like 18 cars or some
it's
weird
20
number.
cars, and then 2 are still in existence.
Oh yeah, you were saying before the podcast, like there was like one of the collectors has like
I was watching this interview with him, and he was saying that this guy down in Florida, he was like kind of like an Arnie, and was kind of like getting picked on and stuff, and was like really kind of not great at school, didn't really like it, took shop classes and really enjoyed that, and his shop teacher actually gave him Christine and was like, you should read this book, like this is exactly like you. And he was like, no way. And so he
God.
And then he read it, and he was like, oh, like this is really, really cool. He's like, I need this car. And so then he like somehow finds someone who finds it in a junkyard, and he restores it to complete, like it's literally the entire book of Christine.
That's weird.
God. In real life. There's like one interview with him, and it's pretty outlandish.
Well, it's kind of funny because it's like, why would you ever want to take that as a compliment that like, oh yeah, this is you, this is Arnie, you're Arnie, this psychopath that like wants to like kill everyone.
Your face is all fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that car too, like they show it in like the video and stuff, and he's like, it's all signed by everyone, and
that's
the
cool.
film, and like there's a lot of like memorabilia from the movie and the set and everything, and like it's really cool.
The car culture is really interesting, especially those that like for pop culture car culture. Pop culture car culture, Jesus. I was at a wedding like a few years ago, and it was outside of Cleveland, and they just happened to be having some sort of like a sprawling car show that was set across this like whole small town, and like every turn that you'd go, you'd see like more and more cars that were there, and they had one that was they had like the Dukes of Hazzard one, and they had these other ones, but then they had like the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and this guy's life has been like just making sure that it stays just like the movie. And he had like the signatures of the cast and crew that was in it. Mm-hmm. And he had like so many anecdotes that he was talking about, and it was really cool. But then you do wonder, it's like, oh man, that is like a dedication to this thing.
It's kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it kind of like, it seemed like this guy's identity was more around this car, kind of like Arnie's, I guess. But
yeah, right?
Where it's just, that's who he is that guy with the Christine car.
Yeah.
Well, and we were talking about the key difference between the book and the movie is that in the movie, the car is just evil. It's all the car.
which I love.
Yeah.
Love that.
We learned that immediately.
It's also interesting how they make LeBay and his brother kind of be the same person.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely LeBay, like with the back brace, and he's the scariest looking person ever in it. And then he like tells a story about his brother was obsessed with the car and how his brother really liked this car and like couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like this is totally kind of the same person into one, I think that's a really interesting choice, but it cut down on time.
A lot of Stephen King stories, they do start commingling like characters together, and they did that with like The Stand. They've done it with Shawshank for sure. It should be noted that this LeBay character is played by Roberts Blossom, who is the creepy old man from Home Alone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we were joking saying that it's the same guy, but the same character. But yeah, I thought the way that they chiseled this down, and they basically did what we wanted them to do in our discussion about the book. They made this leaner, and they made this into a far more direct story. I mean, Bill Phillips did the screenplay, and I think he did a pretty good job in adapting. I mean, I think we were joking around about some of the pacing issues. I think I don't disagree. Like, it definitely,
the pacing is good. The making the car evil is good, but I think it lost the best parts of the book that actually make the stakes real, which is primarily Arnie's transformation. Mm-hmm. And like you said, there is no real transformation other than he becomes suddenly fashion conscious and loses his glasses.
Yeah.
We need to see Arnie at his low point and still kind of like him and see the friendship between him and Dennis. And then we have to see that get lost because of the car.
Yeah.
But instead, we only see Arnie obsess over the car from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so there's no emotional stake for me.
Yeah, I think like that's a problem when you have like these movies that are only, I mean, it's 110 minutes. And that's pretty long already.
But the car doesn't even kill someone until 20 minutes, 30 minutes in.
Oh, like even further. I think it's like, I think it might be like 50 minutes or something, 45 minutes even.
I thought that first scene though, where it kills Moochie or whatever, was really good.
No, I do too.
It's very like
the car scenes are great.
Like
I thought all the car scenes are great. I even think like how they did the Will Darnell thing is actually more effective than the book.
Yeah.
Because it's more realistic. You know, like when he just gets in the car and then like gets choked or something.
Yeah.
The seat like compresses him against the dash.
Yeah. I thought that. Yeah. To that point, I thought like I did think that all the deaths were really effective actually, and they're really iconic too when you look back. Like even like the Buddy Repperton stuff where he's just running in this darkness. Like it's almost like this infinite abyss that is so hopeless.
Yeah. And when like Lee's in the car too, and the light is like shining from the radio, and like she's just sitting there like choking, and it's like
that the use of light in this movie is fantastic, and like Carpenter is really good at that. I mean, like you watch like Halloween, like the use of blue for moonlight, and that is just gorgeous. And even with like The Thing, the way he uses the blues and that are really great as well. But with like this, it's like it's like this weird. I was commenting when we were watching it, like everyone that's in the cars, they're like kind of in this glow, and like it's almost as if there's like a bunch of like lights that are underneath them all the time. And in the car though, with that green is so cool. It's just very like it's like I don't know, it hits on your senses in a weird way.
And it shouldn't really work because the car is red and white, and like green is a terrible addition to
Yeah.
It's just like a Christmas car, but
Yeah.
it looks natural for the car somehow. Like it works.
Yeah.
Those are complementary colors, green and red.
Yeah, it's and what's interesting, speaking of Christmas, they kind of take away the holiday aspect of the story. They took it out of the winter Wonderland, or should I say Terrorland, and they make it into more of a summer movie almost.
Yeah,
I think
even
it
when
is.
they're at the drive-in, it's like raining. It's not snowing or anything.
Which is interesting how they take the stuff with Hitchhiker and apply it to that as well.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a little weird. I thought that whole like scene, I was like, oh, that's like almost one of my favorite scenes in the whole book. And then now it's just this guy in another car next to them that just happens to see her choking. I don't know.
Yeah, there was like a couple of awkward moments in that we were making fun of during the live tweet. Like there's because in the book they go back to the mall to get the car to go Christmas shopping, and then there's a scene in the movie where they kind of do the same thing, and then Arnie's just like, all right, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to get my wallet.
It's in the car.
It's in the car. And it's like, okay, why don't you just go do it? Like, nobody does that. I'm just going to go in here.
Let me announce
what I'm going to do. I thought for the most part, the chiseling down the story was definitely like a plus, but at the same time, yeah, it does lose an aspect of like the downward spiralness of it because it becomes more of just a genre movie, and it's less like his addiction almost just becomes just a consequence almost.
Yeah.
Like,
and he gets eyeshadow.
Yeah,
because of it.
The eyeshadow is great.
Yeah.
And I love Keith Gordon as Arnie. Keith Gordon I've always thought is creepy, even in like Back to School. I've always been like kind of weirded out by him, and I thought, and this is like the quintessential role for him. He just those scenes where he like goes ham and just goes all in on like the craziness.
And Dennis is like, "What the fuck?
The fuck is wrong with this guy?" Yeah, I think Keith Gordon might be MVP of this movie.
For sure.
For me, other than, I mean, you got Harry Dean Stanton as Rudolph Junkins, who lives, doesn't die, which is interesting.
Yeah, a lot more people live in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of deaths in the movie or in the book compared to the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mostly just like Buddy Repperton and his gang.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's pretty. And then
and Darnell, but they're
in Darnell,
they're like,
but
we're not gonna have this car crash through a house. Like, I don't want to do that.
No, it's gonna cost too much money.
Yeah.
Because the budget was only like $10 million, it only made $21 million, so I guess it was kind of a success. But let's talk about. I guess we can talk about the actors maybe if we're leading into that. I mean,
there was one weird thing. I know like the actress for Lee or whatever. I guess like especially like she has a twin sister and they kept switching her during the whole movie.
Oh wait, really?
Yeah, and like I think at the end when like everything like they're killing Christine or whatever, I think that's when a lot of that happens. But
interesting. Well, I know that they were like they were casting, like they had some like last minute casting flips that they wanted.
Oh
to
yeah,
get.
like Kevin Bacon was supposed to be in it, and then he was like, "I'm going to do this musical."
Supposed to be Arnie, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting. I think I could see him as Dennis more, but because I think if Kevin Bacon as Arnie would have been way too. That would definitely be a she's all that moment for me.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, oh, look at this hunk now, and like, no, he's a hunk.
Like you wouldn't have kissed him before.
Yeah, right. It's interesting the movie does take place in 1978 still. I didn't realize that. Because it doesn't feel like 1978. It feels like the 80s.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Like it definitely like has that sort of
Oh yeah.
Maybe
if you would ask me to put a year on it, like
not 1978.
I wouldn't have said 78.
Like I think a lot of it's maybe because Bad to the Bone plays. And like that doesn't seem like the 70s
even the
at all.
Hairstyles, like Regina and Michael's mustache.
That's true.
Feels more 80s.
Yeah, they're like 80s parents for sure. I thought John Stockwell as Dennis Gilder was good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's just good. Lee's again not a character, so
no, it's not. No.
Yeah,
he definitely looks like a high school football player or whatever.
Yeah,
but they also all look very old. Like they don't look like they're in high school.
No, especially Kelly Preston as Roseanne.
Oh yeah.
Which is funny enough that like the thing that we were driving nuts is like I feel like Carpenter was making some homages to Carrie a little bit. I pointed out like one shot where you see Kelly Preston in the classroom is very similar to when you see Tommy Ross and Carrie. And then even the fact that like Kelly Preston would go on to marry John Travolta. I think the movie that they go see at the drive-in is Grease.
Oh, yeah.
So there is like weird ties to Travolta in this.
And the guy who plays Buddy Repperton looks like John Travolta.
He does. A 45-year-old or 35-year-old Buddy Repperton. We couldn't really put a name on it. The old high school student thing like drives me nuts sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you go outside and like go see like some of the high school students walking around in Belmont.
They look like toddlers.
Yeah, they do. Well, I mean, for me, like, I mean, I know Justin had already mentioned this on Twitter, but Harry Dean Stanton goes 100% in this movie. Like, has a minor role, but really gives it his all and kind of brings a character to Junkins that you don't even really see in the book. So he kind of goes above and beyond in that. I like the idea that he survives. I never really saw the point to killing Junkins in the book. Because it didn't really do anything for me.
It's supposed to be like, oh, he actually cares. Like he's sort of an ally to the good people of the story, but it doesn't go far enough. And like, I don't know, it's the same sort of thing where he's like, oh, but it's something to do with the car, and I don't know what it is.
It was just another layer of story where we're just like, oh my god, how much longer are we going to keep going in this narrative? Like it doesn't demand this. So for me, I thought that even in like the little hook at the end where you see it moving is far more effective than the epilogue.
I love that.
yeah.
The little
Love it.
in the cube, it just like pops
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
It's so good.
And that
Bad
guy
to the
carrying that
bone.
radio, that's like he's
Yes.
like carrying that radio, and then they all look, and then he's just like, "What?" He's like, "What?"
Yeah, that was a great kind of last minute twist there. I think it's an effective movie. I really do. I think that it's definitely not one of Carpenter's best films. I think just because you can tell, even not knowing that he wasn't like fully committed to it, there are aspects of the film where you can be like, all right, well maybe this wasn't such a Carpenter job. But even that, I don't know. No, I think he does actually. I take that back. I think he actually does do a really good job making it his own. Like, I mean, he shoots all across California, which was kind of his wheelhouse at the time. Like this looks like it's filmed in the same neighborhoods as Halloween. He gets a lot of really cool veteran actors. I love that Robert Prosky's Darnell. I love Harry Dean Stanton, as I mentioned before. Even the kids aren't bad. I mean, like Alexandra Paul, who was from Baywatch, she was, not too bad.
Yeah.
I think I would have rather have had the original folks that they had. Originally, Brooke Shields was supposed to be in.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, that would have been good.
But her and Lee's outfits are so bad.
Yeah.
Like her shorts, they go down to like mid calf.
Yeah.
Are, like very
Yeah,
strange.
those are very weird. And then she has like long socks with.
And
with
they're
those
like, "Oh
too.
man, check out the new girl." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "What is she wearing?"
Another one was Scott Baio, our favorite
Scott Baio.
conservative pundit, Scott Baio, as Arnie, which actually maybe I could see, but Scott Baio is not a good actor, so I feel Keith Gordon is all in for me.
You know who I feel could have done it too is, and I made this joke during a live tweeting because I was like, it would be cool if the Hitcher got in with Christine, but the guy who plays Jim Halsey, C. Thomas Howell, I feel like he could have been a good Arnie.
Yeah, he would have been really good actually. He was in Red Dawn, right?
I don't know.
See Thomas Howell, yeah, and he was also one of the kids in E.T., I think.
Yes.
Actually, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's I do think that this film helped make the book iconic.
Yeah.
It's
It's fun. It's atmospheric. The music is awesome.
Yeah.
Can't say that enough.
There's a shitload of songs by George. There's the George Thorogood "Bad to the Bone," which Carpenter freely admitted to in our interview with him last year about how he was like the first to really use it, because like obviously it became even further iconicized in Terminator 2. There's Buddy Holly, there's Johnny Ace, there's Robert and Johnny, Little Richard, Dion and the Belmonts, the Viscounts, Thurston Harris, there's Danny and the Juniors, Larry Williams. There's even like a few songs by like more modern songs, which is like ABBA and Bonnie Raitt, Ritchie Valens. The Rolling Stones' "Beast of Burden," which is great in the film. I was listening to that this morning before the podcast, but definitely captures the book. I felt. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
What do
from
you
a
think?
music standpoint, for sure. All right, how many noses would you give it?
I give it 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think 3.5. Bright red Plymouth Fury Pennywise clown noses. I think it's an effective night rental.
Yeah. I agree. But I think I'd give it 2.5. I think I'd give it the same rating as the book.
Same rating as the book.
Yeah. Just because I wasn't emotionally invested at all.
Yeah.
But I liked everything else, like the atmosphere and just the touches I thought were great. And like the action was great and the special effects were great. But like I wasn't into the characters and I didn't feel like I was sad at any point for Arnie or Dennis, really. So
Yeah.
I just wanted more interiority there.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that.
Yeah, I think I'd probably give it like a 3.
Yeah.
Like, just because it's like, I think I liked it because I read the book. And so like I'd like having it tied to the book, I'm like, oh yeah, like I can like see these like changes and stuff that they made and it makes sense. And it's kind of what I would have wanted the book to be as far as like a storyline. But I don't know. I don't really care about cars like that. I don't know.
I kind of wish I would have gone with a 3 actually in hindsight, just because.
Well, we averaged to a 3.
We averaged to a 3, so that's good. I do think that to your point before about the physical practical effects are extraordinary, especially for such a low budget movie. I was really blown away still even now at just how they're able to do it all and how it looks real. And it's just further evidence that you can't just put everything CGI, because that's what it would be nowadays. It would just be a CGI
awful.
fest. The car wouldn't be on fire. I mean,
they would make her into Transformer.
They would. Oh, totally. It would just be stomping around.
Even in that last scene, they like literally give her like those like rigid teeth or whatever.
Yeah.
Like give her like actual like kind of like cartoony monster teeth, and I'm like, I kind of like it. Like it's kind of goofy, but I like it
because it almost feels like you have like a balloon in there that just keeps like it's just like, how the hell are they doing that to steel or plastic apparently? But I mean, I think it's it's a fun genre movie. So
Justin would say it's a good sleepover rental.
Sleepover rental? Is that what he said?
Yeah. That's his favorite thing to say about 80s horror movies. This
was a total sleepover movie. I would absolutely watch this in sleepovers. And I think I could see this being remade. I think that they could do a really good remake for this. And maybe even if someone's kind of able to elevate the prose a little bit and to make it effective.
You would stick to Nola Bay in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I don't think they're going to do if they did a remake. I think they're going to want to have the dead bodies and all that other stuff in there. I mean, Max suggested this would be good as a miniseries. I don't know if I could stay that long with it.
Yeah, I feel like you're like, oh, is the car going to kill more people this episode? Like, that's the only way to escalate it. I don't know.
You must really have to like cars in like that time period too, to be like, oh, I'll stick with this for a lot longer. Like,
I think honestly, it could work as like a lean 100-minute movie again, and just make it so that you focused really on the relationship and you keep Christine as simple as possible, because as long as it stays simple, it's just an evil car. Okay, I'm in.
Yep.
An evil car with ramifications. Great. So yeah.
All right, I'm pulling into the driveway, guys.
Yeah, we're here.
Our joyride is over.
The joyride is over.
It was a long joyride.
It was long.
It was enjoyable.
But it's our first book of the year.
It's our first book of the year. It's our first book episode of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And next up, we have Needful Tweets next week. Mm-hmm. But after that, it's our only book episode of January.
Yeah.
It seems like a short month, I guess. But we have Cycle of the Werewolf coming up on February 2nd, I believe. But, dates are subject to change.
We never know, because, I mean, we still have no idea when Castle Rock's going to jump or launch, drop on us. And who knows what could happen between now and then. For all we know, the world could end. It's not going to.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for joining us. It's always great to have another person who identifies as a woman on the podcast. Always into that, and it's lovely to have special guests on.
Thanks. It's been really fun. I really like talking about Stephen King, and I will always talk more about Stephen King.
Well, we're going to share. You actually took some photos of your collection, and we're going to put those on Instagram.
Please.
Very cool collection.
Stephen King, Kingdom Hearts shelf.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
All right, guys, the engine is cooling. It's ticking down, so it's probably time for us to say
long days and pleasant nights.
I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. But you know you want somebody to treat you good.
Consequence Podcast Network.